I heard Smile influenced everybody. So, but
We're
all
not trying
right.
to start fights, man.
So my number
We're gonna
four
start our own riot.
Yeah, there's a riot going on.
is the riot in cell block number 9. Um,
Bachelor of Bullets.
but the pen is mightier than the sword.
No match for a gun.
No
As
match.
Riley said, Mike's best lyric, bar none.
It's so good, dude.
Hey everyone, my name is Jake, and welcome to this special bonus episode of Good Timin. We hope that you've all been having a great rest of your 2025 so far, and we're looking forward to returning on our more part-time schedule in the coming months. But before we return to covering America's Band, I thought it would be fun to do something that we did on this podcast last year and discuss some of the other songs and artists that each of us listened to the most in 2025. Obviously the year isn't over quite yet, but with Spotify Wrapped and Apple Music Replay coming out this past week, we figured that now would be a good time to talk about our year in music and share some of our personal highlights from the past 11 months. Coming into this, I haven't yet seen either Riley or Matt's full list of songs and artists that they listened to in 2025. But based on what I do know, I think that it's safe to say that we each have some pretty diverse taste and that we listen to a good variety of different music this year. I'm really interested to hear which songs and artists that you guys came back to the most. For the format of this episode, we're going to keep things pretty similar to last year's discussion if you watched that. To start, we're each going to share and briefly discuss our top 5 most listened to songs of the year, along with some honorable mentions. And then we will move on to our most listened to artists of the year, our most listened to albums, and then a few of our favorite new songs and releases of 2025. Before we get into our lists, do you guys have any general thoughts about your year in music or listening habits that you wanted to quickly share?
Now you can go first.
Mm, I would say for me, I probably didn't listen to as much this year as I did last year, just because work got kind of hectic at times. But probably I would say maybe like I kind of like found myself coming back to a lot more of the same things over and over. I know that like when you if you so Apple Music has this feature where you can go like month over month, and there were like some months that I was like literally like spamming the same album over and over. Um, listen to a couple new things, but nothing too crazy. But I'm interested in hearing what everybody else had on their list.
Um, I think I told Jake this. If last year I kind of grew sideways, Year of the Roses, Stone Roses that is, and Oasis and Blur. I think this year I didn't really grow forward, but I grew like diagonal. There's it's a lot of the similar aspects of what I liked about last year, just kind of expanded upon. And I think last year I said that I had a feeling I'd get into more shoegaze, a bit more of that, I guess, really heavy guitar production stuff. And I did a lot. I got into shoegaze a lot more this year, more than I mean, I already liked it, but more than last year, and it became a big part of my listening. Also, just guitar music in general, like a lot of different ways than I was kind of used to. Some more Django pop stuff, but also just different genres that incorporate guitar in really cool ways. They aren't on any of my lists, so Gorillaz even has like some really cool guitar stuff, especially in that first album. Um, Also not on my list, although still quite prominent, like New Order has a lot of cool things they did with guitar, and that's like more dance oriented, like kind of post-punk, I guess. But there's a lot of cool things they did with the guitar, like some of their songs. So like still guitar music, but like different, corners of that general world. I also got into rap a lot this year. It didn't make my list because it was a very specific point in the year. It was spring and summer where I really got into it. A lot of the 90s hip hop that I liked, that I kind of just listened to more of it. Didn't make my list, but I figured I'd shout that out now. Um, but I think some of you guys are gonna be surprised on some of the things, and some of the other things you'll be like, no, that makes total sense. Shocker. Stone Roses are on his list again.
Yeah, so looking at my top songs and artists, the thing that stands out the most is that there were a lot of like familiar favorites of mine that were on both of my lists, but there's also a lot of music that I either wasn't really familiar with at all prior to this year, or music that I did already know, but it just hadn't fully clicked with me yet until recently. Out of the 10 top artists that I listened to the most in 2025, I'd say at least six of them have never even come close to making it into my top 10 in the past. And of my top 10 songs, nearly all of them have never been made my top 100 before. So I think that alone kind of tells you that my taste has definitely broadened a bit this year. I'll also say that this was the year that I feel like I started becoming much more of a lyrics person than I was in the past. You guys know I still tend to put melody and production first when I listen to music, but that said, there were quite a few songs and artists that I really connected with this year that I feel like were as much about the lyrics as they were about anything else in the song. So yeah, overall, I would say that my music taste expanded more than I had expected it would this year. And judging by my top songs, I'd also say that this was also my most diverse year in terms of both artists and genres. So, in the past, there's always been at least one band or artist that has appeared, a bunch of times in my top 100, like more than 10 times. But this year, there wasn't a single one that appeared more than 10 times in my top 100 songs list. So I think that that kind of shows that my overall listening was a lot more spread out than it has been in previous years. Like the Beach Boys didn't dominate my year-end chart this year like they have in the past. So I
They
thought that
didn't
was
even
kind of
make
interesting.
mine, dude. They didn't even
Really?
make mine.
Yeah. So, so before we get into some of our top songs and artists, I also wanted to share a couple of extra stats before we begin. So in terms of my minutes listened this year, I listened to 31,281 minutes. For reference, that was down from last year when I listened to 37,000. And then the year before, I listened to 41,000. So I'm kind of on a downward trajectory in terms of my minutes listened. And then in terms of my top genres this year, which I thought it was kind of cool that Spotify included that this year, my top five were number one, Sunshine Pop, no surprise there. Number two, New Wave. Number three, AOR. Number four, Indie. And number five, Yacht Rock, which also doesn't surprise me at all. So, do you guys have any stats there that you wanted to share in terms of your top genres and minutes listened?
So Apple
Um,
Music doesn't give minutes listened, but the top
Mhm.
genres are pop rock, rock, pop, hard rock, and adult alternative. Now, the only one that kind of surprises me is hard rock, but I think I know where that's coming from. The rest don't
Mhm.
really shock me at all.
the Zeppelin episode.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm thinking of.
That's what happened with Jake. So, by the way, Oasis poster, by the way.
Nice,
Oh,
nice.
nice. Cool. Very cool.
I can't give any fun facts about any of my top artists until I get to it. Because that would be a total spoiler. Um, Number one genre was Manchester. I remember that,
Hmm.
which shocker, kind of a dead giveaway there with some of my top things. Um, 50,000 minutes on Spotify. Um, and I remember I switched over to Apple Music a little bit in September, like I said before, and I think there was like 5,000 with that. So kind of the same as last year. I listen to a lot of music, pretty much any chance I get.
All right. So now we're going to get into our top five most streamed songs of the year. So Riley, do you want to kick us off with your list?
Sure, I'll start at number five.
All right.
This one is actually one of the biggest shockers on my list. Temptation by New Order.
Hmm.
Um, and kind of how I mentioned, it is a guitar kind of track. I mean, there's kind of a riff being played, but they just use it in a very cool way. It's like a dance pop song, but there's like a really cool guitar riff. And if you don't know New Order, they are like an offshoot of Joy Division after Ian Curtis died. Bernard Summers kind of took over the bands, and so it sounds a bit like that, like that kind of guitar driven, like post-punk kind of genre. But what's really cool about this one is there's like synthesizers going on in the background. I don't know, it's just a really cool song. It's referenced a lot in the movie Train Spotting. It was never directly played, or at least as like one of the soundtrack songs. But it's just a really cool track. It's a, like I said, it's a dance pop track, but it also kind of makes me feel it gets emotion out of me. It's still inherently a good, well-written song first before they added all the dance stuff after. Jake, I definitely recommend you listening to it. There's some really cool hooks in it.
Mhm.
It's just a really well-written song. It definitely makes me feel like not necessarily like happy, but like nostalgic, I guess. It's just a really cool track.
Mhm.
So I'm a little surprised this was number five because I don't really remember it listening to it that much, but it's a damn good song, just what I needed by the Cars. Classic song. I think it's a pretty well-known song. I don't have to go too in detail, but classic song by them. That album, the debut is one of the all-time great debuts. great power pop, new wavy track. And something I never really realized, but I kind of was reading about the other day was like it's a very kind of it's a different kind of love song. Because like you're just what I needed. I needed someone to bleed. You wouldn't really expect that in like that kind of song, but it gives it a nice twist.
All right. So before I share my first song in my top five, I did want to mention that for both my top songs and my top artist list, I'm basing the data off of Stats FM because that actually tracks the actual minutes listened versus the number of times I actually played the song, which I think is more accurate because, there's some songs that are longer than others. So I feel like that kind of disadvantages those. But anyway, so number five for me was The Day Before You Came by ABBA. So this is a pretty haunting synth pop track, and it's also the last song that ABBA recorded before the group initially split up. I really love the ethereal sound of the keyboards and the synthesizer on this one. And the vocals from Agnetha and Frida give the song a really dark and unsettling atmosphere. I also think that lyrically, this song is very moving as well. If you've ever been through a breakup or a really difficult time in your life, I think you can really relate with the gloominess of the words. And overall, I feel like this one really shows that ABBA was a lot more than just the happy, upbeat pop group that most people know them as today. So I definitely recommend this one, especially if you're into like that very like dark 80s synth pop sound. So The Day Before You Came by ABBA is my number five.
All right. Number four, I have Sidewalking by the Jesus and Mary Chain. This was right after Darklands, which was kind of not necessarily like a change in the formula for them, but it was them kind of dialing back a lot of the noise rock of Psycho Candy to this more, again, more just pop melodies and less like noise rise, like much less of like Sonic Youth and more of actually, I guess, Phil Spector than anything, which is really cool. But Sidewalking is them saying, fuck that, we want to bring the noise rock back. And it's just a cool song. The lyrics are really cool, like chilled to the bone is like the first line of the song. Gotta get a girl with Jesus on her side is a really cool like lyric that I just really rock with. And it's just what I really like about them is if you like change the vocalist to like I guess like Ozzy Osbourne or somebody, they'd call this like a metal track, but Jim Reed is just not that. He has a softer, not softer, but he's not like screaming. He's kind of like Liam Gallagher and like Ian Brown, where he's just kind of emanates cool in the song, which is really it's just the song is just fucking cool. I can't really describe it, and it's not heavy on the noise. It's at a very bearable level where it kind of adds to the track and makes it feel more just cool rather than less scrape metal in their ears kind of thing. And there's a really cool bass line that drives the song to ding, 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 which is again, it's just a really cool track. And there's another Jesus and Mary Chain song I think on my list. I have to double check, but it's kind of quite the opposite of that one. But this one is just a really cool track.
So this is really the big group I got into this year, and they had been recommended to me for a long time, but I never really got into them until recently. Number four, Deacon Blues by Steely Dan. Um, so that song really something special, very like jazzy, yacht rocky, kind of what they're going for. It's kind of a song about a loser, which a lot of Steely Dan songs are about losers. But this one is about like basically someone who like dreams of like being like a musician and like drink scotch whiskey all night long and die behind the wheel. And then I mean I love this lyric. They call Alabama the Crimson Tide, call me Deacon Blues. Just like the whole song kind of has this like kind of like sleazy vibe to it, but then it's so like slickly produced. And I think that's something that I really love about Steely Dan is that like the music is so slick, and it's something that like honestly I probably would have brushed off when I was younger, but the older I get the more I appreciate how slick and well produced it is because it's just a joy to listen to. And yet the lyrics like have kind of like that sleazy sardonic vibe, especially in this song. I mean, this is just a song that like I was just looping, year after, throughout the year. And really, I mean, Asia, the album as a whole has become like an all-timer for me. I mean, it's just an amazing record. So yeah, number four, yeah, Deacon Blues by Steely Dan.
I'll have some thoughts on them a little later on. But number four for me, Riley will like this one. Reel Around the Fountain by the Smiths. This is the album version from 1984 from their debut record. So spoiler alert, this is the year that I got really, really into the Smiths and went deep down the rabbit hole of their history. But I'll save most of my thoughts on them until I get to my top artists later. As for this song, though, I just really love everything about it. The repeating verse and chorus melodies, the jangly guitar from Johnny Marr, the really moving vocals and lyrics from Morrissey that are kind of about the loss of innocence. It's just a song that I really loved more and more with every listen, and it's also one that I virtually never skipped anytime that it came on my shuffle this year. It's definitely far from like the most well-known or recognizable Smith song, but personally, I consider it among the very best, and I think that it was a perfect way to open their debut studio album. So this one got a lot of play from me this year, as well as a lot of other Smith songs. So that's my number four.
Ugh. I, dude, stuttering. I already kind of had my run with the Smiths, but that is a great track. I don't know if
I
it
like
would be
that
a
one
great.
too.
Yeah, I mean, it's very slow, kind of. I don't think it's a great opener for their. I actually disagree on that, but I do think it's one of their better songs, though. So
It's got like a groove to it. Like it's not like it jumps out at you at any point, but it's just like, and then at
yeah,
the end when he starts wailing with the I do, like I just really like
yes,
that.
I think "Still Ill" would have been a much better opener, but
Even like Hand in Glove probably would have been a better opener too. But
yeah. All right, number three. No surprises here. "Live Forever" by Oasis. Um, Yeah, I mean, I was already an Oasis fan for a couple of years at this point, and maybe it's just because I got to see them live, or maybe not. I still think this song would have been in somewhere in my top 50, but it's my number three. I think it is my favorite Oasis song. Just listening to it a lot this year, it is both like nostalgic, sad, but also very hopeful and optimistic, which is what I really love about the band. Liam Gallagher sounds really good on the vocals. The chord progression is very simple, but it just works really well. I also love that the verses are the things that the verses are the refrain of the song, and the chorus is actually the ones where the lyrics change, which is really cool. It's a cool touch from Noel Gallagher. The guitar solo is very simple, but it just really fits the feel of the song. But I think it's my personal favorite Oasis song, which it used to be "Don't Look Back in Anger," but I think "Live Forever" kind of usurped that. And seeing it live was awesome. So
Yeah, Live Forever
my
was
it's my favorite too.
Live Forever was
yeah,
my top song of February, so I like it quite a bit
Mm.
as well.
yeah.
Apple Music breaks it down by month. I don't know if Spotify does that.
They didn't do that exactly. They had this cool little like AI report thing, but AI, whatever. Uh, but there's like a little report, and I think it said actually there's a thing that said like this day you streamed like 300 Oasis songs, and it was really funny.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah.
So number three for me, Reelin' in the Years by Steely Dan. So I know a lot of people say that this song is kind of like overplayed on classic rock radio. I never listened to classic rock radio much, so
Lucky
like
you.
not like I just didn't. It
They're
wasn't
not wrong, man.
it wasn't a thing in my household. So like for me, this song was kind of a fresh one, and I really like it. First of all, I know that the guitar solo on there, I believe Jimmy Page said it was his favorite ever guitar solo. It's a damn
It's
good
one of
one.
my favorites. I love that guitar solo.
I just like this one too. So also like I just really like the lyrics. Like your everlasting summer, you can see it fading fast. You wouldn't know a diamond if you held it in your hand. My favorite lyric though, you've been telling me you're a genius since you were 17, and all the time I've known you, I still don't know what you mean. Like it's just such a great kiss off. Like basically saying like, you talk yourself up and I don't see it. Like, I just think it's a great like fuck you song. And I just love the chorus too. The chorus is so catchy. And yeah, it's just really intoxicating for me. It was just like, especially like once you start getting to that like guitar solo, like then it really gets good. And then there's
Oh,
a
it's a great solo.
there's a live version of it with Skunk Baxter and Denny Diaz kind of like dueling on guitars. That's like really awesome. I think it's on like the Midnight Special or some show like that. You can watch it on YouTube. I definitely recommend that one. That's a really great live performance of Jarrett, especially for a band that I know was they were never really known for being a live band. They were much more of a studio band, but that was a pretty killer performance.
That little like guitar lick at the beginning of the song is a
Yeah, yeah, great song.
Okay, so number three for me, I'll just say right up front, this is easily the biggest guilty pleasure in my top five, like probably the biggest guilty pleasure in my like top 50. The
Kokomo.
song is Key Largo by Bertie Higgins from 1981.
I was pretty fucking
Uh,
close with Kokomo.
So this is one of those songs that not everybody that I've seen seems to be very fond of, which I definitely do understand why. But you guys know I do like a lot of that kind of cheesy 70s soft rock and yacht rock. So I do have a soft spot for it personally. I really like the catchy and breezy chorus of this song, and also the lyrics, which are kind of about like reminiscing on happy times with the lover, and just watching old movies together. So it's kind of an interesting little subject for a song. It's a pretty simple song, and I definitely wouldn't consider it a masterpiece by any means, but I think if you can appreciate a song like Kokomo or like some of Jimmy Buffett's tropical songs, which I know Riley likes some of those, I think there's a decent chance you'll like this one too. So it's basically like it's like a tropical yacht rock, soft rock song, and it's a very nice little song. So that's my number three.
All right, number two, I think 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I would have considered this a guilty pleasure, but not anymore. I think this is just straight up maybe my favorite song of all time. Yes, that good. Is There She Goes by the Laws.
Great song.
Um, and I think a while back, I think I told Jake, like, a lot of their other material doesn't really sound like this song, but listening to this album a lot this year, there is some other like jangle pop stuff that they do. I just think this one's just by far their best song ever written. Like, it's not even close. And I think they wrote a lot of, or Lee Mavers wrote a lot of good material, but I think this one's it's just that good. It's so simple. Although ironically, some of the rhythms in the song, learning how to play this on the guitar, there's some weird rhythms on it, like both rhythm guitar and the lead riff is really cool. Love that riff. Um, it's just a really good song. I mean, I think everybody knows it. I do hate the fact that whenever I play this live, or even just bring it up, a lot of my friends are like, "Oh, the song from Gilmore Girls," and it's like, no,
Is that the version by Sixpence None the Richer?
hell no,
Yeah,
fuck that version, dude.
I
I
I
hate that.
I'm not familiar with their version. I do really like their song "Kiss Me." I
that's a
think
good song.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it's a
a
good
good
song.
song, but like,
It's a pointless cover. It's a very
okay.
pointless
I'll
cover.
have to listen to it later. Like I
and the
love
singer
love
sounds
the
so
original.
obnoxious on that version too. I'm trying to think of a good like comparison.
Well, Riley, wasn't that there that terrible remix version of it too that took off a little bit on TikTok or Spotify, like a
Yeah,
terrible
how the hell
remix
does that
version?
have 25 million listens on
Yeah, I
Spotify?
saw that.
I don't
Terrible.
get that.
Well, I have a confession to make with that song. I do like that song. I only very recently found out apparently there's a drug connotation to the song.
So I was actually gonna say, it's not really known. It's not a set fact, but it's really cool that you could interpret this as being a song about heroin, pulsing through my veins,
Mhm.
feeling I can't contain, whatever that is. So I like that. I mean, there's no set thing about it, which is really cool. I kind of like it when some songs are a bit ambiguous and left to the listener.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's just I think it's one of the best songs ever written. It's up there with like I Get Around for me and Be My Baby by the Ronettes. It's just there's not a single thing I would change about this song.
Yeah. I like that song quite a bit too.
Yeah.
It would have been my number one, but Jake had to
Yeah,
text
I
me
messed that up
sometime
for you,
in
didn't
the beginning of
I?
January, literally like beginning of January, he sent me that.
All right,
So
Matt, number
this is
two.
the song that I thought was going to be number one because I was listening to a lot. Black Cow by Steely Dan. What can I get with that song? First of all, that's one of my all-time favorite songs already. First of all, that freaking opener, the brum, 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 that would be my walkout song. If I ever become like a wrestler or like a bowler, that's gonna be my walk. I'm gonna
The
walk
Undertaker, if you're like the Undertaker rising out of the coffin, it's just
so damn freaking funky. Holy shit. Like I put that on. I was like hooked. I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. And then first of all, I think that song is pretty damn hilarious in parts. Like the whole like it's like I saw you and Rudy's, you were very high. And then the backup singers, you were high. Like I just think it's funny as hell. And then this is another great like kind of like kiss off song, where it's like, drink your big black cow, which is a root beer float, by the way, in case you don't know what that is. I didn't know what I had to Google it. I had no idea what the hell that was, and I not a big root
so
beer
they
fan.
wrote a song about root beer.
So basically, it's a song about like a woman who
Sounds
like
about to say the Beach Boys did that too.
no. Basically, it's a song about like someone's like sees their ex lover or like their like scorn lover in like a bar, and they're like really high and out of it, and they're saying like you got to get out of here, drink your big black cow. I don't want to see you. I'm not gonna cry over you. I'm over you. You
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
And then there's this really cool like kind of like piano noodling and stuff. Like it's a pretty long song. It's like about like a 7-minute long song, but
Yeah.
like a pretty cool like piano noodling in there that I like. But I just love how funky it is. How again it's slick again. The backing vocals are great. It's just such a catchy, damn funky song. Injected in my veins. Love it.
Yeah. It's funny because that song, like I had known that song for quite a while, but the moment it clicked with me was when we were driving around together, Matt, when you were in Chicago, and you put that on in the car, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a groove, and that's when it hit me, man, and I listened to it quite a bit after that. So,
Yeah, the first two times I heard it, like it was good, but I kind of was listening to it more passively. And then eventually, it kind of like clicked. I find that a lot with a lot of songs. Like they take a
hmm
couple times for me to click, and sometimes
hmm
like doing like driving or something. Like, there's one I will say in one honorable mention because it was in the top 10 not in the top five. But when we get to honorable mentions, like there was one that clicked with me when I was driving really late at night, and I'll point out that one.
hmm Yeah, Matt, I love the I can't cry anymore since you
While
went
you
away.
run
Yeah, I
around.
love it, love it. All right, so number two for me, I think you guys know this song, "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald" by Gordon Lightfoot from 1976. So I assume most of our listeners already know this one pretty well too, so
Oh
I won't talk
God,
about it too
dude.
much. Um, but to sum up my thoughts, I think that it's a really moving and powerful tribute from Gordon to the men who died on the actual shipwreck, which actually happened only a year or so before the song came out, which is kind of crazy. Like you kind of think of it as like, oh, it was about this old shipwreck, but like this had just happened like within a year before the song was released. And this is an example of one of those tracks I was referencing earlier, where my enjoyment of it, I feel like, is as much about the lyrics as it is about anything else. I really love how Gordon paints a picture with his words, and I feel like he really captures like the tragedy of the event. And I also feel that the music itself kind of adds to the story as well. I listened to quite a bit of Gordon Lightfoot songs this year, to be honest, or quite a few that I came back to from time to time, but this one was by far my most listened to, and I can see why a lot of people, both older and younger, seem to connect with it. So that was my number two, and this was one that kind of flew up late. Like I listened to it a bit throughout the year, and then like in the summer, late summer, early fall months, it really started to skyrocket on my listens. So number two, "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald" by Gordon Lightfoot.
I think we heard. So I think when I was in middle school, don't think we read like a short story or something about that, and they we played that song, and I was
Mhm.
maybe about like 13 at the time, so I had no idea how to even comprehend it. I have to be honest, I probably haven't heard it since, so I have to give it another listen.
It's
I
a
heard it
great.
on like Instagram Reels and stuff.
I do like
Yeah,
some
it
of
was.
that, like
It took off a little bit on there, which I thought was kind of funny because like I was already like well into it when I started seeing that stuff. But it's a great song, especially if you like lyrics. There's some really good lines in there, and the production's cool too. There's some cool synth work, like halfway through the song, and I really like the sound of the guitar on it too. So it's a really cool song.
I do like some of that folky stuff. One that I've been listening to a lot lately is "Cats in the Cradle." I really like
Oh
that.
yeah,
I
Harry
don't know that
Chapin.
one.
And the
Yeah,
cats in the cradle. But it's funny. Someone one time on one of the subreddits was like, "Oh, this is like a cheesy song," or they said it was like self-righteous. I'm like, I like it. Oh well, too bad. I like that song.
that sounds like one of those pretentious people.
Yeah, well, can't
Yeah.
win.
All right, number one, guys. Number one. What is your top song?
You already know what it is,
Well,
Jake.
I know Riley's.
I think I sent this like all the way. Sometime in like January, or not January, June. I was like, Jake, this is already gonna be my most streamed song of the year. It's not even close. And it is "Pristine Christine" by the Sea Urchins. It's just some random, like truly random find that he found on Rate Your Music or whatever. Because I
Yep.
looked into a lot of this. I guess not necessarily it's jangle pop, but like this sect of jangle pop of the genre is this very specific. The record label was called Sarah Records. It was this very small independent label that pretty much strictly produced jangle pop music. There's like compilations out there because some of it is kind of big. Like it's kind of like a niche community, but it's known. There's other songs like this song called Wonder, or I forgot the other one, but there's another band called the Springfields that have some similar
Mm.
sounds. And there's some really cool stuff. Some of it even made like C86, C87, which was this like compilation that NME produced that actually had like bands like the Stone Roses, Primal Scream. I think this song was on the same C86 or C whatever that had Velocity Girl by Primal Scream, which is pretty cool. Regardless, this song is like a jangle pop like masterpiece. This is up there as one of my favorite songs ever written. Like again, not much I would ever really change about it. The riff is awesome. The verses are really cool, but then there's this like one part where it like slows down. Christine or Pristine, boom, Christine. Can I ever feel? It's just a really well written song, and the singer is very. honest and very emotive without like saying or like screaming the vocals. Like by no means like technically a great singer, but just fits the music super well. It's just really well written song. I definitely recommend listening to it. Pristine Christine by the Sea Urchins.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
My
one of those ones like
Not even close.
yeah. I think I sent you like, 4 or 5 different songs, I think around that time from Rate Your Music. And then I think, yeah, that one you were just like, oh my God.
Did you
I
just
think I texted you right away. It was you sent me this in January. And like we send each other a lot of music, so usually you and I are like really backed up with the music we send each
Yeah, we,
other.
we do get backed up, yes.
Like he'll tell me like a month later, finally listen to that song. Really good, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think it was like it was in January, and it was during my winter break, so I didn't have a lot to do. I was like, all right, let me listen to the song that Jake sent me, and it was like 11 at night, and I listened to Pristine Christine. I'm like, holy fuck, it was just wow. It just blew me away how like this song didn't I mean I could see why it didn't blow up in the 80s because like that was the time of like hair metal and
Yep.
a lot of stuff and like a lot of the really good underground music like the bands that did get popular from the underground scene like the Smiths the Stone Roses even like Primal Scream were still like relatively small compared to like a lot of the big bands. So I could see why this song didn't get big, but holy shit, it's just a well-written song. And the Sarah Records compilations, I want to get one on because they have like some of the stuff by the Springfields and some of the other bands. They're expensive, man. Like it shows you the music's good. It just didn't sell well.
All right, Matt, number one.
So I want to say like maybe summertime. This kind of started to really click. Another one, Peg by Steely Dan. Another Steely Dan. Like I said, this was
I
the year.
fucking knew it.
This was the year of Steely Dan, right? So for me at least, this one didn't do a whole lot at first, but eventually this is one of those songs that like just kind of got like almost like stuck in the noggin, and it was like I couldn't stop with it. I think just because like it's another one that's kind of funky. This one has kind of a little disco-y vibe to it. The boom 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 boom. And so this is another kind of like song that's like, like a kiss-off song, like this one I kind of interpret. Now this one's been interpreted a lot of ways. I kind of interpret this one as like someone who's like their lover like kind of left them for like the movies and like Hollywood. And then like the chorus is like Peg, it will come back to you. It's kind of like saying like, your career is it's good. Like what goes around comes around, kind of like, like the shutter falls, you see it all in 3D. It's your favorite foreign movie. Like soon you're gonna be in like crap and like crappy 3D movies or whatever. And some people say it's about a porn star too. I've heard that interpretation. But really what kind of sells this song for me is Michael McDonald's background vocals. I think he kind of carries it almost. I know Jake, your dad's not a big fan of his vocals, right? I like him. I like it quite a lot.
Fine with him. I think it's just like he gets sick of hearing him in like all these songs. Like on Ride Like the Wind, you're such a long way to go.
But it's just so damn catchy, so damn funky, and like it's short, so it's like easy one for me to just kind of repeat. And I know that guitar solo in there that I read that they took them a while to nail it. They brought like 8 different session guitarists, and
They were perfectionists
they
for
were
sure.
perfectionists, which I appreciate. And I still think of that you sent me that like Instagram post that was like the how white people when Steely Dan comes on or something.
Yeah,
The funniest damn thing.
accurate.
Like I
Very
said,
accurate.
this was definitely the year of Steely Dan for me. They had been recommended to me by someone at the record store. So like when I go to my record stores a lot, like, I've gotten compliments on the records I buy. And I'm not even trying to like brag. Like I've literally had people that I don't even know that tell me, oh, you got really good taste, man. And then like I think I had a conversation with one of the workers and I told him I was big in the Beach Boys and Prince and all that. And he was like, yeah, you would really like Steely Dan. And I kind of what got me instant was when I bought a copy of Asia off Facebook Marketplace. This was also the year of many Facebook Marketplace acquisitions. And Asia was
Nice.
$5. So I know I'm like, okay. And then like just got hooked on it. So yep, Peg, no, my number one song, which like I said, I think summertime is when that one really started to click. Because for a while it was Black Cow. Then it was this.
I'm all right. So number one for me was Positively Fourth Street by Bob Dylan from 1965. So I feel like if there's a song that shows just how much my taste has evolved over the past couple of years, it's definitely this one. If you had told me back in like 2023 that a song with no real chorus, no bridge, no like special production touches, and also a Bob Dylan lead vocal would become my top song of 2025, I never would have believed you. That said, when I look at how much folk rock I've gotten into recently, and also just how much more of a lyrics guy that I've become, it kind of does make sense that a song like this would be towards the top of my list. I really love the raw sound of the guitar and the organ throughout this track. But for me, the main appeal is really Bob's lyrics. He just sounds so like vicious and pissed off with his words. It just gives off a lot of feeling and emotion. I think it's a very like relatable message for anybody who's ever felt wronged or manipulated by someone in their life, which I feel like we've all been there at some point. So yeah, it's just a very powerful performance from Bob. And like Riley, this was by far my most played song this year. I listened to it over like 60 times since the start of January. So it really resonated with me. I also feel like, a lot of people say like, with Bob Dylan, like, oh, I can't get past his vocals, and I feel like he's one of those artists where like, technically speaking, no, he's not the greatest vocalist on like an objective level, but his vocals convey emotion. You feel something when you listen to his songs. And this one, I feel like that applies more than any, just because like you can just hear how pissed off he sounds singing it, especially that last line, what a drag it is to see you. Like the way he sings that is just so powerful. So number one for me, positively Fourth Street by Bob Dylan. So
I think it's interesting you say that because it's my favorite Dylan song by far. Like not even
mine
close.
too, as of now.
Because it's not even really a very folky song. I mean, I guess it is, but
Folk rock. I'd say folk rock.
but like you had the organ, which was a
Yeah.
huge thing. And I never really paid attention to the lyrics. I just really like the melody of the lyrics, I guess.
Really? Okay.
You've got a lot of nerve, and you know what
Yeah.
you're doing. I don't know. I think I think there are hooks in it. I think that's why I like it more than a lot of
It,
Dylan songs.
it is for me. I think what it is though is like there is a hook, but it's the same hook over and over. There's no bridge, there's no real transition to like an actual chorus, which that's usual with Dylan. That's kind of his thing. But yeah, this one just really works because like the lyrics just hit, man. Like you read through them, it's just such a great set of words.
I've never
So
read through the lyrics, but this is the song. There's a lot of friends I have that don't like Dylan because they think he's just a lyrics guy, and I was like, oh, listen to Positively Fourth Street. That's the one that got me into Dylan. So,
Mm.
I don't know.
interesting.
Although being said, I think a song like "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right" has a great hook. Also, that one's
Hmm.
one that I've been listening to a lot this year.
Would you say,
Hmm.
Jake, that the Dylan movie kind of helped pique some fascination? I know you saw
Yeah,
that.
it's funny because like the movie kind of covers up until like right around the time he went electric.
Mhm.
And like yeah, I listened to some more songs of his around the time that I saw the movie, but I wouldn't really say like the movie really like got me more like super into him. It was kind of just like, oh, I'm gonna see the movie, I'll listen to some more music from him. I liked the movie. And then I just kind of kept listening, like a lot of I won't spoil it, but the Dylan album that I actually like really have come to like recently is from an era that wasn't even touched in the movie. I mean, it came like a decade later.
Mm.
So
Ooh,
yeah, but the
I
movie
know which
definitely,
one.
I would say definitely played some sort of factor to some degree.
It was
So
I
definitely
know.
better than the Springsteen movie. I'll say that much.
I haven't
I
seen the
already
Springsteen yet, but
I already know what Dylan album it is. I'm not gonna.
oh, do you? Do you know it? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, honorable mentions for
Yeah.
songs. I'll go through some of these quick.
All
Beetle
right.
Bum by Blur made my top 10.
Yeah.
All I can say about that one is that one part. Da, 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 da. And when she lets me slip away. Fantastic hook. I love playing that live. Dare by Gorillaz. Wild pull. I mean, now that I think about it, it makes sense. It made my top 10. It has guest vocalist Sean Ryder of the Happy Mondays, so that really got me into it. And it's really cool. And fun fact about that song, Noel Gallagher performed that song live,
Hmm.
which is really funny considering, the history between them. But it was like 2009. I think he played it at a birthday party for Damon Albarn, so I think that's pretty funny. Um, Happy When It Rains by the Jesus and Mary Chain. Jake, I think you'd absolutely love this
I
song.
think I've heard
Great.
it. I think I've heard it.
I've sent it to you
Maybe.
a couple of times. It really shows the Spectre influence that the band had and how much they actually have great melodies when you strip back some of their like noise rock tendencies. And then there's some songs that I can't really count because there's no data for them because they're bootlegs. But I know for a fact I played the song. It probably would be in my top five, but I just can't make any certainties. Daybreak by the Stone Roses, but specifically the live version from their EP that is not on streaming, Crimson Tonight. It is one of the greatest live guitar tracks I've ever heard. It's just endlessly impresses me how good of a guitarist John Squire was. Um, and it's from their Second Coming era, so it's not anything off the debut. It's their more bluesy, kind of like bluesy psychedelic album era, and it's just a really cool live track. Um, and if anybody loves listening to incredible guitar skill, I'd definitely listen to this track, the live version of Daybreak, and one other song that is also not on streaming, "When You Sleep" by My Bloody Valentine. But I'll get back to that later.
So for some of my honorable mentions, kind of got into a bit of the Oasis thing too. Don't Look Back in Anger, Champagne Supernova both made my top 10. Kind of got into some of the other stuff too, but those are like kind of like the more basic ones, but whatever. We have Asia, the title track, of course. Now this was the song that I had mentioned earlier. This was the song that I really started, like I was driving around and like one night really clicked with me. What Is and What Should Never Be by Led Zeppelin. Love that song. I especially love the contrast between like the like how like the chorus is very like heavy, but like the verses are a lot quieter. And this is something why like this is like one of the reasons why I think I would make the case that Robert Plant is a better frontman than some other rock frontmen. I'm not gonna say any names, but just because like
Not even close.
how he manages to like he manages
Galileo.
to do well with the quiet parts and also like the more like I guess like what's the word I'm looking for like
The more
bombastic
grand, yeah.
or grand bombastic where it's like I feel like some frontmen would just be too over the top with that, but he manages to,
Freddie Mercury.
again, I'm not saying any names,
That
but
guy can't sing a ballad like properly. He just can only sing grand. Robert Plant, he has a great soft voice and a great loud voice.
mm-hmm. And then here's a more recent one that I kind of got into, like recent, like it came out recently. Red Wine Supernova by Chappell Roan. Now I kind of started getting a little bit of Chappell Roan. I will say if we're on the Chappell versus Sabrina debate, I like Chappell better. What I really like about this one is I like how cheeky it kind of is, like especially like the line like I heard you like magic. I got a wand and a rabbit. Like it's like a good mix. It's a good mix of kind of like cheeky and like kind of like I guess like raunchy. And then she also has some songs like, and it's not on my top 15, but I know I had on there Hot to Go, which kind of sounds like almost like Cyndi Lauper. And I really like Cyndi Lauper. So like I kind of start getting more of her stuff. Mixed on her as a person, but I do like some of her songs. And I definitely like her more than Sabrina.
All right, so for me, for my honorable mentions, I'm not going to give any like real detailed thoughts in any of these. I kind of just wanted to rattle them off because I wrote down a whole bunch. I kind of grouped them. So the groups that I made, so the first category, I did political and social songs. So these are songs that I mostly connected with because of their message and just like their lyrics. So these songs were Nothing Rhymed by Gilbert O'Sullivan, Immigration Man by Graham Nash and David Crosby, Praying for Time by George Michael, really moving ballad if you've never heard it before, Lunatic Fringe by Red Rider, Southern Man, Powderfinger, and Rockin' in the Free World by Neil Young, Ohio by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Enola Gay by Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, and The Visitors by ABBA. In terms of soul, funk, and disco, some of my favorites this year: Ain't No Mountain High Enough, the Diana Ross version, Being With You by Smokey Robinson, Oh Girl and Have You Seen Her by the Shy Lights, Jack and Jill by Radio, Baby I Need Your Lovin' by the Four Tops, Rainy Night in Georgia by Brooke Benton, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by the Platters, Me and Mrs. Jones by Billy Paul, and If You Don't Know Me by Now by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. In the yacht rock and jazz rock, kind of soft rock category, Deacon Blues, Hey 19, and FM by Steely Dan. Like Matt, I had kind of a big year with Steely Dan this year, so I'll get into them a little bit later. Cool Night and I Go Crazy by Paul Davis. Moonlight Feels Right by Starbuck. How Much I Feel by Ambrosia, What You Won't Do for Love by Bobby Caldwell, Midnight at the Oasis by Maria Muldaur, Right Down the Line by Jerry Rafferty, and I know this is a Riley favorite, Sentimental Lady by Fleetwood Mac, Bob Welch, but I prefer the Fleetwood Mac version over the Bob Welch solo
Oh
version.
yeah, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
And then two more categories. The country folk rock category. This was kind of the year I got a lot more into that kind of realm of music. So some of the songs I liked: "Smoky Mountain Rain" by Ronnie Millsap, "Gentle on My Mind" and "Wichita Lineman" by Glenn Campbell, "Simple Twist of Fate" and "You're a Big Girl Now" by Bob Dylan, "Going Back" by the Byrds, "Some Velvet Morning" by Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood, "Only Love Can Break Your Heart" by Neil Young, "Expecting to Fly" by Buffalo Springfield. That's a really cool song. If not, any of our listeners haven't heard that one, check that one out. "Expecting to Fly." "And It Doesn't Matter Anymore" by Buddy Holly. And then my final category, this is the synth pop, new wave, indie category. So I listened to a lot of music that kind of fell under this umbrella this year. So I kind of made a longer list for this one. So I'll rattle them off real quick here. Self Control by Laura Branigan. That was a top 10 song for me this year. How Soon Is Now by the Smiths. Digging Your Scene by the Blow Monkeys.
Yes,
Life Goes.
yes, yes.
That's such a good
Yes.
song.
So good.
Life Goes On by the Sundays. Thank you for that one, Riley. Precious to Me by Phil Seymour. I'm on
Mhm.
Fire by the Dwight Twilley Band. Cowboys and Angels by George Michael. Major Tom Coming Home by Peter Schilling. In a Big Country by Big Country. Pandora's Box by Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. Cars and Girls by Prefab Sprout.
Yes.
Josephine, you like that one?
So I love that one. I didn't
Oh
think
yeah,
you'd know it.
they're a good band. They got some good songs.
Oh yeah.
Josephine by Chris Ray. That's a really cool song. Jesus Etc. by Wilco. Imposter Syndrome by Sidney Gish. PPP by Beach House. The Divine Chord by the Avalanches, MGMT, and Johnny Marr. Thursday by Asobi Sexu, Tile by Tile by Always, Blue Coop by Twin Peaks, and What Once Was by Hers. So those are some of my most listened to songs this year. And then I also wanted to shout out two instrumentals. Tell Star by the Tornadoes. I think you
Yep.
guys know that one. Love that song. That
Yes.
that one like really hit me this year. I don't know why, but like I listened to that a lot.
Such a good
Um
melody, man.
it is. And then this is a pretty obscure one. It's by a synth funk band called the Raw Band. It's a song called Riding on a Fantasy. I think that's a really cool instrumental. It's like if you like any sort of like 80s like that synth funk sound, I think you'd really like this one. So that's one I'd recommend as well. So
Some of
If
those
I
songs,
could no, go ahead, Matt.
because some of the songs you mentioned, I know like covers of like If You Don't Know Me by Now. I know the is Simply Red, right? That's the one I know.
I can't stand their version. I'm
You don't
sorry.
like it? My sister like
I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible.
my sister
Compared to the
cries at it.
original, it has no soul.
She loves it. She cries at it. And then Only Love
Oh
Can Break Your
Jesus.
Heart. Just
Same.
saying.
I was about to say the same thing, Matt. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Only Love Can Break Your Heart. No, I know that one from Big Daddy. That's the one I
Oh,
the ever.
No, I know what you're gonna
oh.
say, Riley. I know what you're gonna say.
I
Do you like that version?
but and I will say
Hey, it's all right.
I will say this
Oh,
Diana Ross
I prefer it much more.
the Diana
Yeah,
Ross
okay.
Ain't No Mountain High Enough has grown on me a lot because the first time I heard it, I'll be honest with you, I did not like it at all. Just because
It's different.
I'm so used to the original and like half the thing is spoken word. Then the more I listened to it, the more I got into it. But I know Barry Gordy hated it, but he also hated what's that one song? What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. So,
Yep. Yep.
That version of Only Love Can Break Your Heart by Saint Etienne. It's like a Manchester, I guess, version of it. It's so much better than the Neil Young one, but whatever.
You know, I
Um,
will say, Riley, I do like that song "Springtime" by them. I think
Spring is so good.
that's a
They're
cool
a great band. They're a great band. They're kind of like TV Girl, but from like the 90s.
Yeah,
which is
that's a
really
great
cool.
description, actually. That's a great
Like, because
description.
they're like so much better than TV Girl. I also wanted to shout out one more song since Jake rattled off like 100,000. Various Disgraces by the Blam. I highly recommend Jake. You especially would love it. It's kind of like power poppy, very awesome chord progression, awesome hooks. And I found that song. It's like an indie rock song from like 2005, from an episode of The Office, ironically.
Hmm.
And The Office creators are very like into that kind of music because there's so many like niche references throughout the show. And I heard that song at the end of like the credits of an episode. I'm like, oh my God, that's a really good song. I want to find it. So Various Disgraces by The Blam. Awesome tune. Um,
Check it out.
mo- Moving on to albums.
Artists, top five artists.
All right. Number five for me is a band. I'm almost glad they made my top five because they've been like top 10 past couple of years and they finally cracked it. Is Primal Scream. Bobby Gillespie, former drummer of the Jesus and Mary chain, kind of he was in two bands at once and finally decided to leave and focus on this one. There's a lot of different genres they touch on. I think they touch on pretty much every genre you could imagine. Because their first album is a jangle pop album, with the song really cool songs on there. Their second album is kind of like this Rolling Stones esque power pop album, which has a lot of great songs that are reminiscent of like the Beach Boys, but like with the hard Rolling Stones rock edge. And then their third album throws everything else they did out the window and is pure like acid house, screamadelica. Matt, I know you're a big fan of that one.
Sure.
Lots of cool stuff done on that one. And then they go right back to the Rolling Stones esque rockers on the next album. And then they go back to like the experimental like electronic music after they added bassist Gary Mounfield from the Stone Roses, who was said to have rejuvenated the band's like energy and stuff. They've hit pretty much every genre in the indie like scene, from dance to electronic to like brooding, like heavier stuff. Really cool bands. There's probably a song out there for anybody. Jake, I know you like some of their stuff. And
Yep.
like Matt loves the complete opposite end of the spectrum with like songs from like Screamadelica. And I know you also liked the song Kowalski from
Yes,
Vanishing Point.
that whole album was pretty damn good actually. Like the Vanishing Boy. That was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
And I think Bobby Gillespie is just a really like kind of a notorious asshole, but like he kind of deserves it though. I mean, he could kind of act that way because he's just touched every genre possible. And fun fact, AJ Soprano from The Sopranos has a Primal Scream shirt, which is just like the craziest throwaway thing because they were not popular in the United States at all. Um, so I just thought that was really funny. But they have a lot of good songs. If I could, I'll give you three. Gentle Tuesday, which is like a jangle pop one. Jailbird is a really groovy Rolling Stones rocker, very reminiscent of like 70s Rolling Stones. And for like some of their crazy experimental stuff, I would say Kowalski from Vanishing Point or uh, Higher Than the Sun from Screamadelica. But they're just really worth throwing listen. They have a lot of different things. And it's crazy to call them like a Manchester band, jangle pop band, but also like this experimental electronic band. It's just really cool. Really cool artist. Primal Scream.
Velocity Girl and Gentle Tuesday are my favorites that I know from them. So
Yeah, shocker.
Velocity Girl is like honestly one of the greatest songs ever, like under 2 minutes. Like it's,
Oh yeah. There's
I
even
mean, it's just
there's a longer version of it too that they did live. Oh yeah, Jake, you'd probably like Ivy, Ivy, Ivy. And they're also big fans of the Beach Boys. Bobby Gillespie's like quoted in, you know, the Beach Boys book that came out last year.
Hmm.
yep.
Bobby Gillespie's in that book like 14 times, which I think
Oh,
is so
really?
cool. But when you really
Wow.
think about it, like think about how many genres the Beach Boys touched on. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not saying he is the Brian Wilson in the 90s, but if you were to call at least one person that, I guess it would be him.
Yeah.
Didn't they cover like, "Carry Me Home"? That was probably
Yes, they actually
Yeah.
did cover "Carry Me Home" because again, just shows you like how
Before
they're
it was ever, I mean, years before it actually got that official release finally. It was like the bootleg. It was a bootleg for years.
yeah, it was a bootleg, and then "Carry Me Home" was on like a an EP they did for Screamadelica, ironically, which is kind of weird now that I looked into that. Um, yeah, it was Bobby Gillespie is just like a Beach Boys nerd, which is really cool. So if you are a Beach Boys fan, and I assume you are listening to this, I would definitely check out, for especially some of our older listeners, check out their self-titled album from 1989, Primal Scream. It's probably right down a lot of you guys' alley. A lot of great melodies, but also like rock and roll kind of music.
So my number five, I'm gonna keep it very brief. One of my favorite artists, David Bowie. He didn't make the top five albums or singles, but he did make the top five artists. You know, one of my all time faves. There is a whole Ryan and I did a whole long video going through his whole discography, so we don't really need to say
Yes.
anymore. Yeah, he's just one of the goats in my book. So yeah, number five, David Bowie.
Another artist who touched literally every corner of the
Pretty
music
much
world.
anything, but he basically said once basically had a phase in anything but country. That was the only thing he never really got, which makes sense.
See,
From the UK, makes sense.
yeah, but even he has like classical shit, which is just so funny.
So number five for me, it's kind of ironic because you guys were just saying how the only genre he didn't really touch too much was country. My number five was Glenn Campbell. So I first started getting into some of his music last year, and that trend continued for me in 2025. It's kind of interesting though because I feel like for both Glenn and the next two artists in my top five, I feel like I spent the majority of my time listening to them to the same four or five songs. So in Glenn's case, the four songs that I spent the most time listening to were Southern Nights, Gentle on My Mind, Guess I'm Dumb, and Wichita Lineman. So I'd say that those
Oh,
four songs are pretty much the main reason why he made it into my top five this year. That said, again, I think Glenn's an amazing talent. I love his voice. I think he's a really emotive singer. And I know like he's not really like known as like a songwriter. He's more known for like covering other people's songs and other songwriters' work. But he did such a great job of performing those songs and just such an emotive performer. So and obviously a great talent as a session musician as well. So
incredible guitarist.
yeah,
He's
yep,
awesome.
yep.
All right, number four. Previously mentioned on my top five songs list, the Jesus and Mary chain. I listened to the hell out of them this year. They have a lot of great things to offer. I do think they're kind of known as a shoegaze band, and they are like shoegazy as hell. They pretty much invented the genre with Psycho Candy, um, but they also evolved it a little bit too. Darklands is still shoegaze, but much more toned back, less noise. And like the story was on that album, they focused a lot more on the songwriting aspects rather than the actual, just like how much noise can put in the records. Fun fact, the Jesus and Mary chain started more riots in 1 year at their concerts than the Sex Pistols did in their entire 3, 4 year run, which I think is awesome. Like I said, the Reed brothers, Jim and Will Reed, just emanate cool. They wear sunglasses at their concerts. They play in almost pitch black. Um, they're just really cool, but they're also just great songwriters. They're a songwriting pair. They did more than shoegaze. An album like Stone and Dethroned is kind of an Americana plus shoegaze album, which is kind of crazy to think about. But Jake, you would love the song Sometimes Always from there. It's much more toned back. Um, but they're also big Beach Boys fans, which doesn't shock me at all. They have a song called Kill Surf City, which is kind of like making fun of the song Surf City, but again, they're another band that's just praised the Beach Boys. So they're while they have a lot of heavy material on Psycho Candy, which I don't think a lot of our listeners would like. An album like Darklands, I think, is worth a listen. Um, Stone into Throne's also worth a listen. They have a lot of cool stuff, and Jim Reed is just a very unique vocalist. But they're a big melody band, so I think a lot of people would like them.
So my number four, Led Zeppelin. Kind of got into them more this year. I like knew a couple songs. I think that doing that deep dive helped a lot. Especially like I said, what is and what should never be. Let me look at the rest of my list. I don't have that playlist somewhere. That was like I could see what else kind of stuck with them. I know that was the big one. I know like a couple other ones like Tangerine and
Banger.
Misty Mountain Hop. I know we kind of somehow got that on the list, and but then also the
Cool.
classics like Whole Lot of Love and Dazed and Confused and all that. Ramble On, just like a lot of really good stuff from them. So my number four.
I will mention, since you just talked about them, Led Zeppelin did make my Spotify top five because of their tracking system. Riley did get me quite a bit into them as well. I listen to a lot of the same stuff you like. What is and what should never be. Tangerine. Hey hey. What is it, Riley? Hey
Hey,
hey.
hey,
What can I
what can I
do?
do?
Love that song so much. And then oh god, what's the other one? No Quarter. Really like No Quarter a lot. That song rocks. So,
Really?
my
I
I
think
love
it's
it.
amazing. I just didn't think you'd like it. Oh my God.
It's so like haunting. Like I love how like raw the guitar tone is on it. And so I'm not always in the mood for it, but like listening to it like at night, like it's awesome. So I really
Dude,
like that part.
their live versions of that song would go up to like 30 minutes.
I'll pass on that, but I do. So number four for me is an artist I already mentioned earlier, Gordon Lightfoot. So similar to Glenn, I first started getting more into Gordon's music late last year. And since that time, I found a lot of really great hits and deep cuts from his career. That said, though, he probably wouldn't have made my top five this year if it wasn't for three specific songs. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald was one, obviously. Carefree Highway, which I think is a really nice song. And then a deeper cut called The Circle is Small, which I listened to quite a bit this year. Similar to Glenn, I think Gordon has a really great voice. I think he's a great storyteller with his lyrics. And I think that his music has a lot of feeling and emotion to it. So I do connect with it quite a bit. So that was my number four. I wouldn't consider him like a top favorite artist of mine by any means, but like I think he has a really solid catalog of music. And I do think if you like kind of like the folk rock stuff, I think there's a lot you'll like there. So
Number three is the Stone Roses. No shocker there. It's got to be the third year in a row. I think they've made my top three. Um, So I mean, I've touched on this band a billion times already. So I won't go into a lot of detail, but I will say, besides their like 60s inspired like guitar pop of the debut, there's a lot of stuff they did that isn't that is also worth mentioning. I like their second album. I definitely listened to that one a lot more this year, I think, than the debut. Second Coming is what it's called, and it's just a really cool album. It takes a lot of like the influences of the first one, but it goes in a different direction. A lot more bluesy, very psychedelic, and dark in tones. There's a song called "Breaking into Heaven," which is an awesome piece for guitar. Um, a song called "Good Times," "Love Spreads" is really cool. Takes a lot more of the bluesy Zeppelin influence that influenced John Squire. And then there's a song called "Begging You," which is I want to venture to guess that like a song that very much just sounds like they were on cocaine when they made it. And it's I think Matt, you listened to Begging You. Um, I think I sent it to you once. It's worth listening to once, and it's like fool's gold, but like on coke. It's just weird but awesome track. Um, Stone Roses, I talked to them to death, so I won't say anymore. But they have a lot of great material to offer, and just about like 40, not 40, 4 albums worth of material. They give you so much. So
My number three artist is the Beach Boys. I'm not gonna go into any more detail than that because we talked
shocker.
enough about them on here. But the Beach Boys, like that's all I'm gonna say. It's the Beach Boys. That's
About like 300 hours worth of
yeah.
material,
We
actually.
have enough material. Please choose any video you want, and you can hear my thoughts in depth on their catalog. Moving on.
So number three for me, going to continue in the folk vein, Bob Dylan. So I will say right up front, I still wouldn't consider myself like a massive Bob Dylan fan compared to a lot of other people out there. But that said, his songs that I do like, I really like a lot. I think Riley kind of hinted at it earlier, but the Dylan album that I'd say that I've connected with the most over this past year is Blood on the Tracks.
Yep.
I think that that's a yeah. I knew you had a good idea of what it was. I think that that's a really great record from start to finish. I really love the very moving and heartbreaking lyrics from Bob. Outside of Positively Fourth Street, the majority of my most listened to songs from Bob this year are from that album. You're a Big Girl Now, Simple Twist of Fate, If You See Her Say Hello, and Shelter from the Storm. I think all of those are just amazing songs. I also found myself coming back to multiple tracks from Blonde on Blonde, in particular the song Fourth Time Around and One of Us Must Know. I definitely do have to revisit some of the other Dylan material that I've heard so far. I have listened to quite a few of his albums, but like, you obviously need more listens to kind of have stuff really grow on you. But regardless, the guy's music has really grown on me a lot over the past year, and I definitely do have a lot more appreciation for him as a songwriter than I did before. So this was definitely the year where I got quite a bit more into Bob Dylan.
All right.
Mhm.
Number two.
Yeah, number two.
Yeah, there's no shocking anybody with this one either. Blur. Blur hit number two. And if you've been paying attention, you probably know what my number one is. Because that also isn't a shocker. But again, just a band with a very beyond the fact that they've touched a lot of corners of like, that I guess indie music, they've just I don't know, they just continue to shock me and they're very unique sound. Like even though they're doing different styles, whether it's, the Manchester sound on Leisure or sorry, Leisure. Um or the shoegazier American rock influenced stuff of their later records and just the general Britpop they did in the mid 90s. They've hit so much. They have incredible hooks. They're very witty. And they're a very energetic band to listen to. And I've also noticed a lot of really cool lyrics. I'm not a big lyrics guy. But they have some really cool lyrics, especially on like I know like Charmless Man is really like that's a really cool set of lyrics about it's a very witty set of lyrics. But it's just like the Beaujolais or whatever, like talking about how this guy's is rich or whatever. I don't know. Blur is just a very cool band and they're very energetic. I love their mesh of keyboards and like heavy guitars because it shows, a lot of Damon Albarn's influence from bands like New Order with Graham Coxon's love of like heavier guitar stuff from the United States. So Blur, really cool band. And I think they have the most consistent catalog maybe ever.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that deep dive we did, Riley. I found a lot of great songs from them. Like I had only known like a couple songs at all, and then when we did
Yeah.
that deep dive, I discovered like, oh damn, I like a lot of this stuff. So
Yeah, and like they're inherently British. So
yes, yes,
an album like Park Life might not sit well with some American audiences, but then you have their self-titled record in 13, which is very much influenced by, like grunge.
yeah,
And so like you probably get a lot of that's where you get song two from. But the songs like Beetle Bomb, as I previously mentioned, is very heavy on the guitars, Coffee and TV.
yeah.
So like there is stuff for like everybody. It's not just, very British music. They have a lot of really cool stuff. And yeah, I've even been listening to Think Tank a lot more lately, which because I've been getting into gorillas a bit more, and that one has a lot of cool stuff with like dubbing and a lot more like electronic influence, which is really cool. So awesome band.
So keeping with the British theme, number two for me was Oasis, actually. Riley, I know we kind of got into them with I kind of got into them with the deep dive we did last year. We did that episode. So for me, it was a lot of like kind of going back. I mean, gonna sound basic, but I kind of went a lot back and forth between definitely maybe and What's the Story, Morning Glory. Some months one more than the other, some months than the other. I know I had one month that I was listening to Live Forever a lot. One month it was Don't Look Back in Anger. There was a time I was listening to Hey Now a lot. There was a time I was listening to recently was Supersonic. I will say a big favorite of mine is Buried with Children. Thank you, Noel, for your music. Shite keeps me up all night. I use that lyric far too much because it's great. But also some of the B-sides too. I love Talk Tonight. I think Talk Tonight is a gorgeous song. I know he wrote that one about. I think he wrote that one about they had that really disastrous show in Los Angeles. Then he ran to San Francisco with that woman. That's what
Yep.
inspired that song. Um, Acquiesce is great too. And yeah, just kind of getting more, just kind of listening to them a lot. Some of their music has kind of become comfort music for me. It just kind of puts me in a good mood. Very, very uplifting band. I could definitely see why people miss them and why the reunion tour was so triumphant. Because it's like
Yeah.
the music is so optimistic, especially like as someone who like used to listen to a lot of the more grungy stuff. I haven't listened to this grunge as much,
Yeah.
but that is just a lot more depressing. This is just a lot more.
That's like there's a quote out there. I forgot exactly how it went. Well, there's two quotes actually that I want to mention. One of them's like saying how Noel was like, they're big fans of Nirvana, by the way. I want it to be very clear. Then they've said that, but they also said that they hate that Nirvana's talking about like wanting to kill themselves. And they're like, we grew up really poor in the slums of Manchester. We love life. Why would you want to take that away? And there's also this other quote I think they mentioned about Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder, and like Liam Gallagher's like, this guy fucking sucks. And I'm like, yep, I wholeheartedly agree. Also, there's a really good version of Married with Children, Matt, that I want to send you. They performed it live. Um, and instead of using the acoustics, they cranked the amps to 10 and just it's so cool. It's so cool.
That'd be interesting to listen to.
So my second most listened to artist this year was The Smiths, at a whopping 983 minutes. So as I alluded to earlier, this was the real big one for me this year in terms of my music discovery. For the past few years, I've been a casual fan of The Smiths, and I really liked about a dozen or so of their songs. But then back in September, I bought tickets to see Morrissey downtown, and I decided that it would be a good time to do like a full deep dive into their catalog. And that was a very, very rewarding deep dive for me. Not only did I discover a ton of amazing songs from them that I had never heard before, but I also rediscovered some tracks that I had listened to before, but that just didn't click with me until then. The concert I went to was awesome, and I think that Morrissey and his band sounded really great. But for me, the most rewarding part of the whole thing was that it led to me becoming a really big Smiths fan and finding another band that I honestly kind of put in my top tier of favorites. So I won't go over every song from them that I had on repeat this year, but some of my favorites, besides the ones I've already mentioned, were I Won't Share You. Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now, The Headmaster Ritual, a deep cut B-side called I Keep Mine Hidden that I really like because I find it very catchy. I Don't Owe You Anything, Nowhere Fast, which is awesome, Big Mouth Strikes Again, and Stop Me If You Think That You've Heard This One Before. So yeah, lots of amazing songs, and I would totally recommend taking a Smiths deep dive if you haven't already. I think that the combination of Morrissey's lyrics and vocals with Johnny Marr's guitar playing is just an incredible combo. And honestly, I'd consider consider it one of the best like musical partnerships ever. I think that like the combination of those two working together, like they just made such amazing music. And Morrissey, you know, he went on to do some great solo work, and Johnny has done some great work on his own as well. But putting them together, it's almost like with the Beatles, where it's like you put them together, and there's just a different level of just like amazing there. So number two for me was the Smiths.
Speaking of two people that work really well together, Liam Gallagher and Noel Gallagher, Oasis is number one. Doesn't shock me at all. I think a big part certainly is the reunion tour. But I have been a fan for years, and this has been a long time coming. And I still find more songs that I like by them today. Um, I want to mention some of their later work that I've really gotten into. With the reunion and Gem Archer and Andy Bell joining them, I was like, all right, let me look at some of the later albums that I didn't already. I was already a fan of Don't Believe the Truth. I think I mentioned that when we did the thing. But I've been really getting into Heathen Chemistry, which I think was my last ranked album, and now I think it's not even close to last anymore. Um, I part of that is because I heard Noel sing "Little by Little" live, and that was so good. It made me really like that song a lot more. Um, "Stop Crying Your Heart Out's awesome. Um, Songbird, I already like Songbird. She is Love, but I've also really loved Hindu Time. So Heathen Chemistry has gotten a lot more listens this year. Um, and then Be Here Now, I've kind of started to also gain appreciation for. Maybe not as much as some of the other ones, but even a song like Magic Pie is really cool. Um, I Hope I Think I Know is awesome. And then their last album, which I also was not a huge fan of, I've been getting into. Bag It Up is awesome. Falling Down has the same drum part as Tomorrow Never Knows, which is really cool. Um, and I'm Out of Time, which is a Liam song. I finally really started to really click with me. So I have more to say about Oasis in a bit, though.
I think Songbird has actually become my favorite song on Heathen Chemistry. Like for years, it was Stop Crying Your Heart Out. I was like, oh, this is by far. But honestly, I love Songbird. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, Hindu Times, I got a lot of that. Heathen Chemistry is a lot better than I gave it credit for. It's damn good. I don't think it's as good as like some of their older ones,
Yeah.
but
But,
still pretty good.
all right, Matt, number one.
No shock, Steely Dan. Other than the Asia stuff, definitely Hey 19 was a lot. Do It Again, Dirty Work. Ricky, Don't Lose That Number, especially
Yeah.
the boom 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 bump. Still gotta get into some of the other stuff though. Like I kind of got hooked on those. Like I still gotta get into like more like the Royal Scam and stuff like that. And so I mean, Katie lied and stuff, but yeah, definitely like big discovery. But really got hooked on the Asia, especially. That's the one that's like, oh my god, that's like inject that in my veins. Like that's a desert island disc for me now. One of my favorite albums ever.
Yeah, Matt, I think you'd
Yours
like quite a
comes
bit of
home too.
I think you'd like quite a bit of the Katie Lied stuff. There's some really good songs in there. Bad Sneakers is the one I'd recommend. I think you'd really like that one. It's really catchy.
A lot out there.
So number one for me, not a surprise either. The Beach Boys, who this year I will say I listened to over 3,000 minutes, but it was quite a bit down from the past 2 years. So in terms of this, you guys know with the Beach Boys, I always find myself returning to a lot of these songs over time. They have so many different eras of music. This year I ended up listening to a lot of Sunflower and a lot of Love You. I remember when I went to see Al in concert. I was listening to Love You pretty much in the weeks leading up to that show because I knew I was going to get to hear those songs live, which was so cool. Obviously, with Brian's passing, I spent a lot of time listening to them as well, especially some of the mid '60s stuff like Pet Sounds and Today. So definitely spent a good amount over the summer listening to the Beach Boys. That said, though, over the past few months, I've kind of taken a nosedive in terms of my listening. I think you said the same thing, Riley. It's not because I've lost interest in them by any means, but
No.
I kind of just felt like I needed a break and I wanted to explore some of the other music that I've been listening to lately. Interestingly, though, my two most listened to Beach Boys songs this year were actually both Bruce songs. Deirdre and Tears in the Morning were in my top 20 most listened to songs this year. In addition to those, some other songs that cracked my top 100 were Crack at Your Love from Beach Boys 85. It was well in there. Yeah, it
It's
easily
good,
made it.
man. It's good.
Crack at Your Love, All This Is That, of course. Lady Linda, Leaving This Town, Sail on Sailor, Honking Down the Highway, and Riley's favorite Solar System. All those made my top 100 this year. There were also a couple of Pacific Ocean Blue songs from Dennis that made my list, but I'll share those when we get into some of our honorable mentions for artists.
All right, cool.
So you
Yeah,
guys want to get into a few honorable mentions?
yeah. We already mentioned the Smiths. They'd be in my top 10. Um, I don't think I'm a huge fan of Morrissey as a singer. He's very hit or miss with me. It really depends on the song. That being said, when he hits, he hits. But Johnny Marr's guitar playing though, I'm always there for. Um, Barbarism Begins at Home, groovy fucking
Oh,
track.
so good. That one's
I
so good.
think that might be my favorite Smith song, next to Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now, which is awesome. I love the guitar on that one. How
Yeah.
Soon Is Now is also really cool. So the Smiths are always going to be there for me. They're you similar to Primal Scream. They're like constantly top 10, never
Mhm.
reaching the top 5. Um, the Style Council, Paul Weller. I am a massive Paul Weller fan, and this year, I mean, the Style Council's always been my favorite era for Paul Weller. You know, he did the Jam and he had a big solo career. And I think it's funny that people consider this his like worst era because I think it's by far his best. It's when he was most musically experimenting with a lot of new things, a lot of jazz influence, R&B influence, and some of his best arrangements, synthesizers, keyboards, guitars, some of his best songwriting in general. I've really learned to like the 12-inch single version of My Ever-Changing Moods over the original piano ballad, which is kind of weird because I used to love that one. But this one
Yeah.
has the wah and the guitar, awesome keyboards, and you got some synth pop in there too. Um, Wanted or Waiter There's a Fly on My Suit. It's a weird ass song title, but it is some of the best like synth layering I've ever heard. And he just has such a really good voice. He projects really well. He's not like a Freddie Mercury though, where he's kind of like operatic with it. He's very punky with it, but very soulful. He has an awesome voice, and his voice aged so well because I saw him in
Mhm.
concert last fall. Still sounds amazing. But so Style Council. I've also got really into the song. Jake, I probably sent it to you. Lodgers. The Lodgers.
I love that song. Yeah.
Banger. I love the use of synths. So if you want like really cool like synth pop, but also influence from R&B, it's its own genre really. But listen to the Style Council. He's finally advertising the Style Council on the internet for the first time ever. Like that used to be something I guess he was ashamed of maybe, but they're like finally going through their whole catalog and like remastering and remixing them, which is really cool. So Style Council. And I'll give you one more. New Order. Um, Similar to the Style Council, awesome use of synthesizers. There's definitely more of a focus on groove and rhythm with the New Order, but there was also like that underlying like post-punk influence from them too. But like kind of like how that meme with like you got like the emo sister and then the sister with like the rainbow in her hair. It's like that. Like Joy Division is this moody post-punk thing, but New Order is the happy version of it, and I love them much more. Awesome use of synths, really cool guitar riffs. Bernard Summers is a really cool singer. Jake, I think you would actually get a lot out of New Order. There's just some really cool stuff they did. You probably know the song Age of Consent, which is like the popular one with the cool riff, but I love Temptation, um, 1963, Bizarre Love Triangle. It's a lot of cool
I
tracks on
love
there.
that one. I like Bizarre Love Triangle.
They have a lot of cool stuff. If you want to listen to them, I'd listen to the album Substance, which was technically greatest hits, but they
Mhm.
re-recorded all of the songs for it. And if you listen to those versions, they're like much better versions than the
Mm.
original cuts that they did, which is really interesting because I feel like any artist who re-records their songs, usually it's going to be bad the second
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Every single song they re-recorded for Substance in 1987 was better than the original. So,
Hmm.
Mm.
Substance from 87. So, New Order.
Matt, honorable mentions.
So I know number six one for me was Billy Joel, which I know that was we did that deep dive on him, and I would say like The one I kept coming back to a lot with him was a lot of stuff from Glass Houses, especially Sleeping with the Television On.
Oh God, so good.
That's such a good song. I really like that new wavy stuff he did. I'm kind of surprised she's so high. Britney Spears. I mean, I do love me some Britney, but I'm shocked I was into her that much. Well, you know, Beatles are up there. We got my guy Justin Timberlake. I got the Monkees up there. Cyndi Lauper, Velvet Underground. I listened to them quite a bit this year. I think it was. I started to get a lot to more of the what's that last album they did? Loaded.
Yes, that's my favorite
Who Loves
favorite
the
one.
Sun and Sweet Jane. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I knew Sweet Jane, but Who Loves the Sun I really got into
that's
for
their like poppiest one, right? In terms of like melody and
very
stuff.
sunshiny pop that song. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's like Lou Reed's attempt at that. So nothing too
Yeah.
crazy. The rest of my list, I have 608 total artists, but that's just the top ones. So a lot of different artists, but just those are the ones that I kept coming back to.
So for me, some honorable mentions. So number six for me was Morrissey, which I kind of already hinted at. I'm with Riley for sure. Like he's kind of hit or miss for me when he's on his own. Like there's some songs I really like, and there's others I'm like, yeah, it's okay. But like I did listen to a lot of his stuff this year. Number seven for me was Neil Young. Actually, this one was another one that like if you had told me a couple of years ago that Neil Young was making my top 10, it would have been a big surprise. But again, I just I've really started to connect more with lyrics, and I find his voice to work really well with his music. Dennis Wilson, I listened to quite a bit of Pacific Ocean Blue this year, so I think that's why he was in my top 10. You and I and Time were both in my top 100 this year, and I also listened to End of the Show quite a bit as well. Number nine was ABBA. Number 10 was Steely Dan. So this is a band that I could see jumping even higher on my list in the future. Kind of like what Matt has said already. I liked some songs by them before this year, but I think as you get older and you start to listen to more music, I think you really appreciate them even more. Deacon Blues was my most listened to song from them, but I also listened to a lot of Hey 19, FM, and some Black Cow as well. Thank you for that one, Matt. So yeah, I did a lot of listening to Steely Dan this year, and then some other notables outside my top 10. Fleetwood Mac at number 11, the Beatles at number 12, George Harrison at number 13. Number 14, this one's thanks to Riley, the Sundays. I listened
Oh.
to three of their songs a ton this year. And those three songs were Life Goes On, Here's Where the Story Ends, which I did already know, but it hadn't like fully clicked with me until I revisited it. And the song Goodbye. I think that's a really awesome song as well with some really great vocals. Number 15 was the Raw Band. I already mentioned them. Really great, kind of like obscure 80s synth funk music. I definitely recommend checking them out. And then number 16, Led Zeppelin, which, as I mentioned, Riley kind of really helped me get more into them this year. Before I'd known the hits, but not much else. And this year I discovered a lot of really great deep cuts from them. And then to wrap up, number 17 and number 19 on my list were two modern indie bands, Always and the Marias. So, all right. So now, do we want to get into some of our most listened to albums this year? Since Spotify did actually track that this year, I think.
Finally, they
Yeah.
finally did. Yes. Number five, Darklands by the Jesus and Mary Chain. This was like the brighter, less noise heavy follow up to Psycho Candy. Um, and as I said before, the Reed brothers focused more on the songwriting than the actual production. And I think it aids so much. Like, I think Psycho Candy is a better album by them. I'm a big fan of it. But admittedly, the songwriting on this album is a lot more strong. Um, you definitely hear the Spectre influence a lot on a song like Happy When It Rains, Cherry Came Too, April Skies, and even the title track. Um, and you have some more like acoustic kind of focus stuff. A song called About You. I already mentioned Cherry Came Too. That's also an acoustic no number. Um, and they seem to really be taking their time, not necessarily like actually writing the songs, but like the songs are a bit more, there's some slower ones. The title track Darklands is about almost 6 minutes, but it has a really cool guitar riff, very catchy. Jake, I think you'd be a fan of this one. Just lots, it's a big focus on melody compared to their first album. You also, I think, having both brothers take leads on songs rather than just Jim, which is really cool. Um, Highlights, Happy When It Rains, April Skies, and Cherry Came Too. Very melody driven, but still considered shoegaze. But really cool album. Blur's self-titled at number four. As mentioned, this is when they start to take more guitar influence to the songwriting. There is also some more electronic experimentation on it in some points, but this is their like take on grunge, which is really cool because I'm not a big fan of grunge as a whole, but this album's really cool. Beetle Bum I already mentioned, but there's also another song on here that I really two other songs. Strange News from Another Star is their take on David Bowie. Matt, you would love that song. Um, Also, obviously, song two is on there. I think it's a good song, but still not their best. On Your Own is the song Damon Albarn considers the first Gorillaz song, which is really cool. You're So Great is maybe one of the single most depressing songs I've ever heard, but it is very beautiful. And that one strictly is, I think, the only song in their entire catalog that was written by Alex James, and by nobody else. Lots of cool stuff. It's very heavy, but still inherently Blur. Um, Number three is Live at Nebworth, 1996 by Oasis.
Hmm.
For a long time, there's a lot of live albums I preferred. This is without a doubt my favorite live album ever released. Um, and I've watched the movie too. They were on fire, and you could tell that Oasis was on top of the world at that point in time. They also have John Squire on both Champagne Supernova and their version of I Am the Walrus, which is awesome. But every song is so full of energy. Even the songs that normally I wouldn't have really cared for on Be Here Now. It just sounds so much better live. My Big Mouth is really cool on this album, but I don't know, the energy is there. Definitely great live album, and I'm so glad I got to see Oasis live this year because they still have it. Number two is The Laws by The Laws. Um, There She Goes is the best song ever written, but Lee Mavers had a lot of good songs on that album. No skips for me. You could tell they're very much from Liverpool. Um, Nate, our friend Nate, told me that, the Jesus and Mary chain was if Spectre debuted in the 80s. I think there's a case to be made that this is what the Beatles' debut would have sounded like if it was made in the 90s. Because there is that like inherent like Mersey beat sound to this, but updated for like the 90s sound. And I could see why Britpop was like this was the catalyst for Britpop. Great songwriting throughout. Awesome jangle pop moments on songs like Feelin', I Can't Sleep and There She Goes. They get pretty heavy on a song called Failure, which is sounds like The Who, which is awesome. Um, Definitely worth this. Like there's more than just There She Goes. This album is awesome. Uh, Number one, though, not even close. Definitely Maybe by Oasis. I said this was my favorite Oasis album a year ago. It still is. No skips. It's pure raw rock and roll. Well, Oasis learned to kind of polish their sound a bit after this album, but this one's just raw rock and roll, and it's just so good. The energy is there, the snarkiness that makes Oasis is there. It's full of sarcasm, but I love the raw sound of it. Um, Highlights, obviously, Live Forever and Supersonic, but started to get into some of the other ones on there too. Columbia is really cool. Bring It On Down. I found that one because of the live show. I always liked it, but now it's just I never realized how banging it is. So definitely maybe is my favorite Oasis album and most streamed album of the year. Not even close. And do you want me to do honorable mentions?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'll give you one. Um, Loveless by My Bloody Valentine um, was taken down from streaming. So had it not been, I think there's a case to be made that it would have made, or My Bloody Valentine, the band would have made maybe my top 10. But all their good stuff was taken off streaming. So the album that came before this one and Loveless, but similar to Psycho Candy, where there's a lot of noise, there's also a really strong emphasis on melody, which I really like. Because, I mean, shoegaze is very hit or miss for me. There's some really good stuff, but then there's that kind of Sonic Youth level. And I'm a fan of Sonic Youth, but there's that level to it where it's just, there's a line where it's song and noise. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
bands that focus on just adding noise rather than creating good songs and then adding the noise. My Bloody Valentine definitely does a great job of focusing on the songwriting first. Songs like When You Sleep, my favorite one. I love the riff on it. Very cool melody. Sometimes is also a great song. I think Jake, that'd probably be the most acceptable My Bloody Valentine song for you. Um, and then Only Shallow is an incredible opener because it has that heavy noise thing and it almost turns you off of the song. Then it cuts and it's just kind of normal song. Um, but Loveless is a really cool record and I can see why it changed the game. Um, so if you want to get into shoegaze, I would definitely recommend this one because there's some really cool melody moments on here.
Okay. So number five was Sunflower by the Beach Boys. I don't think I need to go into a ton of detail about that album because we've talked about it enough. Number four, this one kind of surprised me. Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. Now, I'm not a Britney expert, but this is usually regarded as one of her weaker albums. I think for me, it's just the nostalgia factor of it. It's a very like innocent, like if you like that like turn of the millennium pop, it's got like Baby One More Time, Sometimes. Sometimes was the one I listened to a lot this year. I think I played that one for you in the car, Jake, in Chicago. It has Born to Make You Happy. It has From the Bottom of My Broken Heart. For the deep cuts, I really like Thinking About You. And then there's also a really good, on this particular version on streaming, there's a really good B-side called Autumn Goodbye that I listen to a lot. But then there's also some kind of like really dated stuff. There's this one song called Soda Pop, which her vocals are really good, but it's like kind of a really bad reggae song. You would hate it, Jake. It's like, in the soda pop, watch us fizz and pop. Then there's one song called Email My Heart. About
Ooh.
as 90s as it gets, right?
Oh man.
Number three, Brian Wilson, 88. I think kind of got into this one more, I would say, with list doing it for the episode we did. Because I'll be honest, first time I listened to it didn't do a whole lot for me, but listen to it again with like things like Melt Away and what's that other one that's really good? I know it's Melt Away,
There's so many.
Love and Mercy
Love
and
and
yeah,
Mercy. What's
Walking the Line.
Walking the Line? Yes,
Walk,
thank
walk,
you.
walk.
Walking the line. Yeah, just like it kind of started clicking more. Honestly, even nighttime, as janky as
Uh,
that song is,
Nighttime
I
is
could
the right time.
still see some of the appeal. Number two, what's the story? Morning Glory. I know you know that one, Riley. For me, I would say, honestly, that one for me from start to finish, not a bad cut. Obviously, has all the big hitters on there. The one I really started coming back to a lot on that one was like the three-song suite of Some Might Say, Cast No Shadow, and She's Electric. I really like all of those. I know Liam is a big fan of Cast No Shadow, but funny enough, a lot of Oasis fans seem to not like that one as much from what I was
It
reading.
was written for Richard Ashcroft with the Verve.
no,
For Ashcroft, okay, yeah. And I know I mentioned Hey Now, which I know that's one of the very few songs off this album that they never did live. But
Shocks me. I like that one.
I like that one a lot too. But yeah, just a really great album from start to finish. And the number one, Asia, Steely Dan. Anybody really shocked? Really great album from start to finish. Freaking side one, holy shit, is Black Cow Asia and Deacon Blues. Doesn't get much better than that for a side one. Side two is Peg. Then you have Home at Last. I got the news. I got the news part of the week song, and then Josie, which they ended with a banger.
but
Josie comes home. She's the
um,
live flame, the live wire, the raw flame live wire. Honorable mentions: we have Physical Graffiti and Led Zeppelin 2. We're right 6 and 7. Surprisingly, my most listened to Bowie album was Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, which I do like that album, but I would not have expected. What? Someone make a face or something?
no, just keep going.
Just give
It's Riley. Just
Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, which I was not expecting that to be so high. I had definitely maybe in there too. Zeppelin 1, Zeppelin 4. And then I wanted to go. So Apple Music has this feature where you can go like your top albums by month, just to show you kind of like how all over the place some of this was. So we had Mariah Carey's debut in January. We had the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory soundtrack in February. Don't even ask me what was going on that month. Then we had What's the Story, Morning Glory. We had Physical Graffiti. We had Asia for 1, 2, 3 months in a row. Then we had Holland by the Beach Boys. Then we had Asia again. And then What's the Story, Morning Glory again. And then Vanishing Point by
The Vanishing Boy. The Vanishing Boy.
from
The Vanishing
by
Boy.
Primal Scream. And then we have December to Keep Listening. So yeah, kind of really all over the place for me.
what was going on in February, man?
I have absolutely no idea. I think I'd gone through a breakup or something, and I just was putting that on. Or I don't know.
I mean, that just reads like it's like, oh wow, somebody, what a great list. And then that's yeah, fucking Willy Wonka. And
Sticks out like a sore thumb.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey, it's a comfort movie. Hey.
yeah, I get it. I get it. All right. So for me, I'll admit I didn't listen to too many like full albums this year in terms of like sitting down and like listening to albums on repeat. But according to Spotify, my most listened to albums from number five to number one, at number five and number four were two Smiths albums. Strange Ways, Here We Come, and The Smiths self-titled. So it was their first studio album and their last studio album. The first album, Smiths self-titled, has more of a raw sound to it. You know, at that point they weren't really experimenting with like keyboards or anything. It was more of just a raw record. A lot of really great songs on there. I already mentioned Real Around the Fountain, but I also really love What Difference Does It Make? And This Charming Man. And I Don't Owe You Anything. That's another one I listened to a lot this year. And then Strange Ways, Here We Come. I know that that one seems to have a little bit of a divisive reaction among fans. I think that there's some fans that seem to consider it like their very best, and then there's others that seem to consider it their least. But I think there's a lot of really great songs on there. I really like Stop Me If You Think That You've Heard This One Before. The closing track, I Won't Share You, I think is a really gorgeous ballad. And there's a lot of other really great songs on there as well. And then at number three on my list was Sunflower. Again, Matt kind of said the same thing. I don't need to say much about it. If you want to hear my thoughts on Sunflower, go listen to that episode. Number two, Pacific Ocean Blue. This was kind of the year I feel like that album really did grow on me. You know, I went into this year, like before we did that episode, like I liked quite a few of the tracks, but there were also some that like, you know, hadn't fully clicked. But then re-listening to it all again, like the album as a whole really started to work with me more. So it's definitely one that grew on me a lot this year. And then number one, no surprise, love you. You know, between me loving the album already, but then also seeing Al and his band do all those songs live, it was such a cool experience. And yeah, I spent a lot of time listening to that album in 2025. So that was my top five albums. I do have an honorable mention, but I'm going to mention it when we get to our new releases. So
I think I know which one it is.
yeah. So, all right. So, one of our last things I wanted to do was go over some of our favorite new songs and albums of the year, songs that came out this year. So, do you guys have anything in particular you wanted to shout out in terms of new stuff that you heard that you liked?
The Subway
Yes.
Chapel Roan was by far of like a big pop hit, like that by far the best thing I heard. Sounds like the Cranberries. And then that Maria's album you showed me was pretty interesting. I gotta listen to it more.
The
That's
solo one. The solo
the
one.
solo one. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
The solo one. Yes, the one you showed me. That was pretty solid too. I gotta listen to it some more. I only heard it a couple times. But as far as like one song that I came back to was was Chaperones the Subway. I actually ended up buying the 7 inch
Mhm.
at Record Store Day because I love that song so much. Was not a huge fan of The Giver, which was on the flip side.
No, me neither. Me
But I
neither.
loved the Subway. I was like, wow, this is actually really good.
So a lot of new music is very hit or miss for me.
Same.
Um, yeah. Um, I'll get this out of the way. I know it's not new music, but it's really new to me in terms of actually liking it. Um, Two songs from an album that I have often trashed. Um, In the Airplane Over the Sea and Highland 1945. The album itself, I still consider quite overrated, but I'd be lying if I haven't returned to those two particular songs a lot in the past couple of months. So I want to get that out of the way. However, there is this new album that came out not too long ago. And while I don't think it's as good as it's gotten like, its credit for, I've actually kind of been a fan of it, and I've been getting into the band in the past couple of weeks. The album is Getting Killed by Geese. You've
Mhm.
probably seen it on, TikTok or whatever. And there's a lot of people calling it like the best thing in like years. And I don't know if I agree with that, but it's a very interesting guitar record. And I've been returning to the song, I can't even say it right. Our Pays Do Cocaine. Um, it's a really cool track. And Husbands is also pretty cool. Um, and they also have an album from 2 years ago called 3D Country. Um, Two songs, Cowboy Nudes and Crusades. It's an interesting guitar band. It's definitely, I don't know if I'd call it, indie necessarily. I think it's a bit more alternative, I guess, if there is a really difference between the two, but I would say listen to it for yourself. I can't really describe exactly what it is. They have some good melodies, but it's also just really cool sounds they're doing with the guitar. Not, the second coming of Christ, like some people have said. I know Rate Your Music loves this one, but I mean, it kind of got it right. It's a pretty good record, and I've been listening to it for the past couple of weeks, so I'm excited to see what else this band has coming up. Also, Lemon Twig's new song. Might as well get my thoughts out on that. Man, I don't know. They're disappointing me. I'm probably gonna get my ass kicked for that, but I think we talked last year about The Dream Is All We Know, and I said how like that album gets me excited because they're, experimenting a little bit with their sounds with the synthesizers. Um, I think they've kind of fallen on their swords and just they're kind of doing the same pastiche now. I know one of the brothers had a solo album this
Yeah.
April, and there were some okay tracks on it, but
Hmm.
hearing that, I can kind of see why it was a solo record. It was probably like a lot of songs that just didn't make the cut for A Dream Is All We Know. Um, but this new single, I mean, not only does it kind of copy a Marshall Crenshaw song, You're My Favorite Waste of Time, it's pretty much spot on the same hook. Um, Even when it doesn't, it's just kind of boring. So hopefully the Twigs can bounce back. So
All
that's
right,
my
so oh,
I was gonna say that's both my album I like, the Geese one, and what I have not liked so far was the Lemon Twig stuff.
mhm. All right, so for me, I wouldn't really say that I had too many contenders for my favorite album this year, but there was one that easily stood out the most for me. So that's the one that I went with for my pick. So the album is Melt by Not for Radio, which is the solo project name of Maria Zardoya from the bedroom pop band The Marias, which have blown up over the past couple of years. So like the Maria's music, this album has a really haunting and ethereal sound to it, but I'd say it's even more down tempo than the Maria's music, which is something that I really like. And I think that the production and also Maria's vocals really give each of the songs their own atmosphere. I will say this is an album that I think definitely works best when listened to from start to finish. I think that there are individual songs that like work totally fine on their own, but I think that each song kind of benefits from being in the context of the album just because the songs flow together so well. So this is an album that I really enjoyed this year. Definitely one that like you wouldn't want to listen to it like necessarily like in the car, but listening to it at night with your headphones on, I think it's definitely a really rewarding listen. I do actually have a recommendation from the Marias this year that they released. The song Nobody Knew, which was released as a single B-side earlier this year. I thought that that was a really moving ballad, and it's one that I came back to quite a bit this year. And then outside of the Marias, I did want to shout out two songs from the Brian Daddario solo album that Riley referenced, Brian being from the Lemon Twigs. The two songs I wanted to shout out were Flash in the Pan and This Summer. Flash in the Pan is a very George Harrison sounding song with some cool slide guitar. I think that like if you like George Harrison, I think you'll really dig that song a lot. And then This Summer is almost like a straight up bird song. It has that really cool like country roots rock sound and with some really cool pedal steel guitar too. So I thought that those two were like real big standouts. The album as a whole, I kind of have similar thoughts as Riley. Like it's a decent album. There's some really good songs on it, but like as a whole, it's not one I really see myself sitting down and listening to from start to finish. Also relating to the Lemon Twigs, there's this group called Shotchki that put out an album this year called Playin' Dumb that has some really great sunshine pop on it. And this band is actually produced by the Lemon Twigs, by Brian and Michael. So I think if you like their kind of sound, like you like the kind of throwback retro 60s, 70s sounding pop, basically Chachki is like the female version of the Lemon Twigs. So I think you'd really dig them if you like that kind of old school sound. In terms of actual hit songs this year, I'm with Matt. Subway by Chaperone, I thought was a really great single, really great dream pop, very 90s inspired production. Like you said, totally hear like the Cranberries and like the Sundays and some of those like 90s kind of dream pop bands. So really great song. I'd love to hear like an album of her doing songs like that. I think that that would be really cool. So hopefully she does more of that. And then for my number one favorite song of 2025, I'm going to go with a song that actually came out, like, I believe last month. I think it came out mid-November. It's a song called This Is the World, I Made It For You by Magdalena Bay.
Hmm.
So this is one of those groups that I've always found to be a little bit hit or miss for my taste. But I think that this is easily one of the best songs that they've ever done. I really love the modern, like psychedelic sounding production on this track. And I think that the chorus melody is really beautiful. It's one of those songs where like it has that mix of like happy but also like melancholy in it, which is something that you guys know I always really love in music. And then it also has this really cool bridge section where the song like changes key and it gets almost like shoegazy for a minute, where like the guitars just get really loud and droning. And I did think that that just sounds really cool, and I think that it like elevates the song for me. So I definitely recommend checking out this song. This is the World by Magdalena Bay. They do some really cool synth pop as well. That's kind of their whole thing. So if you're into that kind of sound, I think you like quite a few songs from them. But this one's more of like a psychedelic kind of mellow song, and I think that they did a really great job with it. So overall, yeah, those are my favorite songs. Yeah, I'm kind of with Riley though. A lot of newer music, I find myself it's very hit or miss. There's songs where like I appreciate them, like I think the production's really cool, but the song itself just like doesn't stick with me. And then there's other ones where like the critics seem to really rave about it, but then I listen to it and I'm like it's all right, but like I don't really see what they're freaking out about. But yeah, so that's it for our favorite songs of the year. So before we wrap up this episode, I thought it would be fun to ask you guys if you have any nominations for your worst song of 2025 or your least favorite, we'll say.
Well, let's just say this. Pop music, a lot of bad stuff this year, and this has been said many times. First of all, Mystical Magical. What the
Oh,
fuck is
Jesus.
that song? The stupid opening freaking keyboard thing. As soon as I hear it, like in freaking Walmart, I'm like gonna go crazy. Moonbeam ice cream, taking off your blue jeans, dancing at the movies. Listen, I'm not. Listen, I love the Beach Boys, so I can take bad lyrics, but that's just awful. Yeah, not a fan. Then there was Ordinary, which sounds like something you'd hear at a church revival. This is a holy waters water down. Like he sings with so much faux emotion. I can't. I can't. Like, I mean, I hate when people do that. Like they shove it down their throat to try to make it sound, and then it's like trying to be like all like angels up in the cloud. Nope,
Like
sorry.
a gospelly Imagine Dragons.
It's horrible. And then here's the biggest whipping one. Tortured or not, that was last year. Life of a Showgirl. What can I say? I mean, some of the songs I actually did like, but then you had stuff like I heard you call me boring Barbie when the Cokes got you brave. Did your girl boss too close to the sun? His love was the key that opened my thighs. I mean, like, what was she even doing? Like, it sounds like it was the first drive that she rushed out. I'm sorry, Swifties, come for me. I didn't think it was that good. And then, speaking of critics, you mentioned critics. I'm more convinced now that critics have to be bought because how the fuck did Rolling Stone give that a perfect score? Seriously.
Forgot they
Rolling
did.
Stone's been in the shitter for like the past 50 years, Matt. Don't worry about
I
it.
know they've always. I mean, honestly, yeah. Some of the reviews. I mean, they said that
They
John.
trashed Zeppelin,
They
dude.
said
Like,
John Bonham was a terrible drummer. Yeah, they said so much. They said Ram was terrible, like Paul McCartney's Ram. I mean, they wrote a lot of stuff. So
That
yeah,
was when it was fun to just dogpile on him because of, the Beatles. He broke
well,
up the Beatles.
yeah. It's because Jan Wenner sucked John Lennon's dick. We know that's why.
well, I'd suck John Lennon's dick too, so.
But those are some of my least favorites.
Not like that, Jake. You know what I mean, dude. Stop.
Sorry, I had to get those out because I'm just like,
He's more referencing the comment I made. I love John Lennon. He's my
Oh
favorite
no, no,
Beatle.
you're fine. I'm just saying, like, I'm sorry. I know I talked a lot, but I'm just like, I had to get those out because, like, I just,
Uh,
God.
I don't know. This was the first year in a long time where I was able to kind of ignore a lot of contemporary like music
Good.
and listen to what I like. I worked at a summer camp last year, so I heard a lot of like pop radio, not pop radio, but pop like music. This year I did not work in a summer camp and I got an actual job, so I was really able to like lock in on my own. Um, being said, uh, I mean, I don't really want to like touch a spot we already did, but yeah, that Taylor Swift album was just, I guess it wasn't even like awful. Like Tortured Poets was a drag. This was just like so mediocre that it was just boring. Like it was just really what you'd expected. Um, admittedly, some of like the sounds were cool. Like the production was good. Like she got Max Martin again, so like the production, and she's rich enough where like the production's gonna make it is gonna be good, but the songwriting was just eh. She also straight up stole riffs and
Lots.
stuff like so obviously. Like I heard, we listened to it as a group, and I remember listening to like one of the songs, and I immediately hit the group chat. I'm like, this song, like just
Was it the
frustrating.
Pixies
And
one?
Matt,
One was the Pixies, one was the Jackson Five.
Oh yeah, that was freaking
yeah,
Wood.
but
Yeah, Jackson
but
Five.
like of course, no one's gonna sue her though for that.
But she'll
But she'll
sue us.
sue
But
you.
right, but. Yeah, Matt, I think you hit it on the head. She needed to rush release an album, so she just threw shit together and you know
And here's the thing that really grinds my gears about it is that like especially like the diehard fans of hers will swear that what they love about her music is the lyrics. All right, like they a lot of them.
That I've seen a lot of her fans turn on her though.
Yeah, me
Not
too.
enough of her fans, but a
But a
lot
lot,
of them.
a lot. Yeah.
And that is one positive I think that came out of this album was people finally like, all right, yeah, we've had enough of her.
Not before she
Uh,
sold 4 million in a week though, right? Which is insane.
well, yeah, but a lot of that's from pre-orders, which
Who
doesn't
pre-orders
shock me.
5 copies of an album they've never listened to?
Who pre-orders one copy of an album? I want to listen to it before
I
I
would,
buy
yeah,
it.
I definitely wouldn't pre-order one, let alone
Even
five.
there's a reason why even like record stores have the record player for you to listen to it. Like no one's gonna just gonna I don't know. So yeah, and then besides that, admittedly, like I trash on Sabrina Carpenter a lot, but I think I've always said that her music is actually not that bad. I just hate her as a person. Um, so last year, even though like I wasn't a fan of all of it, like, she had some pretty good pop hooks, but this one that she released this year, similar case. She needed to rush release an album to stay on the hype train. Um, so this one, last year had some pretty good hooks. This year was just not it, man. Of course, I properly listen to an album before I hate on it. And like this one's just, again, it's just, it's okay. It's just boring. So, yeah, and that Chaperone song was pretty all right. I thought it was cool. I mean, there's some good guitar stuff on it, but the songwriting was a little bit boring, but that's just my opinion. Still much better than any of the other quote unquote pop girlies. But I mean, I'm a
The
man,
very
so I
at
probably
the
shouldn't be talking too much about this topic.
At the very least, I feel like it was a breath of fresh air. Like even if like the
Yeah.
song maybe didn't jump out at you, at least it's like it's good to hear something that sounds like that
Yeah.
on the charts,
Yeah.
compared to some of this
Yeah.
other stuff. So,
Yeah.
Well, I
okay,
think it's
so
on the charts because she released it. It was on the charts because she released it. If it was anybody else, I don't
oh,
think it
I
would have
know,
made it.
I get it, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
But
here's the
But
irony.
I'm a man though. I'm a man, so this is not my music. I can't make any like objective comments towards it.
Here's the irony, Riley, though. Last year when you were at the summer camp, like a lot of people say 24 was actually a really great year for pop music.
Oh yeah, I
There
like
was
that Charlie XCX one. That
Charlie XX.
Brad. That was a fun record.
Yeah.
Um,
And then there was obviously the other Sabrina record, and there was Low Lord was this year. Beyonce
yeah.
had a record last year. But yeah, like this year was like there's been a lot of talk about that the pop charts were pretty bad. So I can't wait to see what Todd.
I mean, it's not
yeah, I
my
know.
music though. It's not my music.
But even for
But
someone like me that, I appreciate pop music, even some of the stuff I'm just like,
yeah.
I mean
Yeah,
like I've said many times that I think Benson Boone has talent. I've heard the guy sing. I haven't been to a concert of the
Oh,
guy,
he's the worst of them all, dude. I
but
like
he
at
I
least.
he can sing,
he
but
can
what he's
sing.
doing with his voice is
There's potential, but then when you're releasing crap like he releases, it's just so frustrating. Whereas like I say Alex Warren, I think has no potential. I think he is one of the most cynical creations I've ever seen because it was like he was a freaking hype house guy and then that didn't work and now we're pivoting into music and the music sucks. And I'm gonna say it sucks. If he wants to sue me, fine. Use me in your clip saying that your music sucks. Because I'm saying it right now, your music sucks. And then you have people like the somber guy, which like the music's okay, but
Oh,
he's just being dumb, So I'm just
oh, I that guy rubs me the wrong way. I'm not gonna lie.
no, yeah, he kind of rubbed me.
Um,
Sorry about that. He kind of rubbed me the wrong way too. So it's like I don't have a lot of hope for what's going on in pop music.
not Benson Boone's the worst of them all. Elite. I fully admit Taylor Swift has some talent. Sabrina Carpenter definitely has some talent. I think just because you sing good, it does not mean shit. There's a lot of bad singers that make incredible music. There's a lot of really good singers that just make dog shit.
You ever watch American Idol? There were a lot of really good singers on there that didn't make much great music.
Yeah, because I don't know. I feel like singing. I don't know. I would rather. I'm a big fan of those softer, more natural voices.
yeah, me too, me too.
I think Brian Wilson's probably in some only maybe like Robert Plant and John Lennon are the like some of the only cases where the voice really adds. But to me, it's more about the
Hmm.
actual music.
Hmm.
If it fits the style, it fits the style. But Benson Boone is just a hack. So
All right, Jake, let's hear it.
So for me, so for my worst song of the year, so I split my picks up into a few different categories just to represent because I felt like I needed to mention a few here. I couldn't just mention one. So my pick for the most repetitively irritating song, this is one that actually came out late last year, but I had the displeasure of having to hear it over and over again this year. APT by Rose and Bruno Mars. This is the Ah Pate Pate song. I think it's annoying as hell. I know Matt, you thought it was decent. I see
Yeah.
some of the appeal of it. I think Bruno's part is fine, but man, that hook, man, it is just irritating. And I'll never forget sitting this year having, Matt was in Chicago with me, and we're sitting in a Culver's, and we're just, enjoying our food. And these freaking kids start singing that goddamn song, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's no escaping it." I'll never forget that.
That
So,
was funny.
APT, my pick for the most obnoxious song this year is a song called "Gnarly" by Cat's Eye.
Oh, that one.
I
I
don't know it, man.
well, just keep it that way. The most overhyped song of the year, "Man Child." I don't get it. I think it's fine. I don't understand why like people went nuts about it. Like I think Sabrina has better songs on that album, to be honest. So
Oh
I'm
yeah, she
I'm so I'm
does.
so the fact that like that was the one that took off kind of annoyed me. Like it's just like okay, it's fine.
It's dude, the hook on sorry to interrupt. I just want to say the hook
Go.
on that song is exactly what you'd expect it to be. She just says man child.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, for the opening.
Fucking
Oh,
shocker.
oh,
Like
oh, oh boy. Yeah. The most lifeless song of the year. Matt already talked about it. "Ordinary," Alex Warren. Just, I mean, just musical wallpaper. No point to it. Speaking of no point, the most pointless song of the year, "Mystical Magical," Benson Boone. No reason for it to exist at all.
Just sample.
Stupid lyrics.
I don't
The
even hate the
melody, the
lyrics, I just hate him. Like
the
it's just
melody is like ripped off of like 80 songs. Like the "Mystical Magical" sounds like "Physical" by Olivia
It samples.
Newton-John.
It samples
It's
physical.
Oh, does it actually?
It
Okay,
does.
well there you
Yeah.
go. But
Bad
yeah,
sample.
just
Your favorite thing, bad sample, right?
lazy, yeah, lazy song. And speaking of bad sample, my least favorite song of the entire year, and it's not even close, is "Anxiety" by Doechii.
yep.
That song. Okay, yeah.
It
Nope,
is, I
nope,
mean,
that's the right answer.
it is just
That's the right
awful.
answer.
I have no tolerance for it. Zero. I mean, it is just terrible. I
Music
mean, you took,
music's is subjective, but that is the right
yeah.
answer. Like
Can I
that's
say
I
another?
mean, you took a song that was like a objectively great song,
Hmm.
and you did the laziest fucking sample of it and put the most annoying freaking like hook and vocals over it. Like it is just so
Did you see the
aggravating.
video of her singing at Coachella and nobody singing along?
I think I saw a clip of it maybe, but
She's from
yeah.
my neck of the woods, actually.
Oh yeah.
Tampa, not about 2 hours from me. I want to say another song. I forgot to mention that I
Oh,
would shout out as someone that I really liked, Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. I actually really liked that song. I thought it was very catchy, very fun. It's I would love to see it win an Oscar. I don't know if it will, but I think it'd be a really cool choice. I really really like that song. We're going up
Wait,
somewhere.
isn't the Oscars for the movies?
It's from movies from K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh,
Also
that
speaking
movie's not up your alley, Riley, I can promise you.
Speaking
I
also
know.
of movies, Sinners had a really good score too. There's some good songs I wrote for that one. That was one of the best movies of the year. But movies is another topic. But yeah, that I just want to give a shout out to Golden because I really did like that song.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was yeah, I'm not a fan of a lot of stuff you mentioned, like the anxiety and
Yeah.
the man shot. You know what? I think you sent it to me and I said the same thing. It's fine, but it's nothing that I haven't heard before.
I
Right. That's
expected better from her. I want to be honest.
I think that Taste song is a solid like disco type song. I think that's fine, but yeah, a little bit
Dude, she's
disappointing.
got great production on her song on her albums. Like
Well,
I will
"Man Child"
fully
I think
admit
is a
that.
little generic, but their album's
But
fine. Yeah.
and even the production on Manchild's pretty good. I like some of the synthesizers on it.
It sounds a little lifeless to me. It sounds like we're trying like desperately to emulate the 80s, and it's like just sounds a
Well, I
little
think
like
she's
don't.
trying to emulate the success of, Espresso and Please,
Yeah.
Please, Please, but with her angle that she usually goes for, um,
Yeah.
especially recently.
Hmm.
Um, and so it was, for lack of a better term, it was pure formula.
Don't fuck with the formula.
Don't fuck with the formula.
Well, like
Yeah.
I think you made the point though, is like nowadays I think with how social media works, you kind of have to rush it out if you don't already have an
Yeah.
established fan base, because otherwise they're going to move on to the next new
You
shiny
know who hasn't done that though?
who.
Olivia Rodrigo.
No, because
No, you're right. That's a
what
good
she's
point.
been doing is she's been like Thanos collecting all the collaborations with like the legends.
Yeah, and she can do that, but she doesn't
Yeah.
have to release any music, and she's doing just fine, I'm sure. And
Yeah.
even Chaperone, like she
Well,
really
yeah, she even said, she was like, I might take multiple years to make this album. And I respect that. It's like, and I think the way to do that is you take your time, you put out some singles in between, to keep people entertained and stuff. And hopefully that when that album does come out, obviously you want it to be successful if you're taking a long time to make it. But, I really respect that versus like what Riley's saying. We're like, okay, we got to stay on the hype train. Let's crank out another one, like what Taylor and Sabrina did. So
Taylor is just being overexposed at this point, I think, because
yeah, that's
I
why
think
she's losing
people
fans.
are fed up. People are
it's
fed up for
this has
sure.
been a constant assembly line of, and I'm gonna say assembly line, whatever, of music since 2020 because it was
Just general product. She's
Evermore.
releasing that Disney Plus documentary for the tour.
Taylor's version of this, Taylor's version of that, the Royal Scam Taylor's version, because that's what it was, a freaking scam. I'm just saying, like, it's like, and then like midnight, it just never stops. And it's like,
Yep.
the last time she was this overexposed, she got canceled and got called a snake. So it's like, I don't know
She's
what
a
the hell
fucking genius, though. I'll give her that.
she is. I mean, she's a marketing genius for sure. I'm just saying, it's just like, okay, this is enough material already, time to slow down. Everyone's even saying take a break and come back in like 2 to 3 years with a banger.
Just hang out with your husband, like whatever.
I give it 2 years. All right. So thank you everybody for listening to this special bonus episode of Good Timin'. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I had a really fun time discussing all of the music that we listened to this year, and it was interesting seeing where our tastes cross paths with each other. So, as always, if you like this podcast and want to hear more, feel free to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. We greatly appreciate the support as it motivates us to make more episodes in the future. Also, as a quick update, we are planning on recording another Good Timin' episode sometime in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully we'll have some new Beach Boys news to discuss by then as well. So, thank you again, everybody, for listening, and we will see you all in the new year. Bye bye.